In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses, originating from a plethora of sources, four longtime friends band together to try to make sense of it all and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off the Page.
Hello there, fellow geeks. I'm Troy. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
And I'm Mike Kitchen, and unfortunately, my Halloween costume came 2 days too late.
Hey there, I'm Trevor. The tower, Rapunzel.
And I'm Gavin. And I'm Menta, the Mind Taker. Welcome to Geeking Off the Page, a group of college nerds who decided to keep nerding it up 20 years later.
Is that it? You're done? That's it. Okay. All right.
This is what he was talking about, the onions. Over to you, Troy.
All right. So this is episode 26 of, like Gavin just mentioned, Geeking Off the Page. And we're here on a weekly basis. Like I said, 26 episodes in. This episode is being recorded on the 6th of November, 2021. So if you're listening to this in the future, that's when all this stuff went down and all that. So
that's going to be real handy when we need alibis.
Oh, for sure. Yes. That's why I'm timestamping it. I'm totally timestamping it. And when we're done this, we'll record one for tomorrow. So we get a timestamp for that. So we can just bring up whatever episode we need for whatever time we need an alibi for. If any of us need an alibi. Right.
We got your backs.
There you go. So every single episode, we start off with our coming attractions. And this time we have a bunch of trailers and teasers that we like to go through. And basically that's what we're going to do now. So the first one we're coming out starting strong with this one this week. And we are going with the Book of Boba Fett. So this is going to be dropping on Disney Plus at the very end of the year, because they did say they were going to be releasing it in late 2021. And well, here it is being dropped on the 29th of December.
Can't get any later than that.
No, you can't really technically
31st.
Yes, exactly. But this actually, no, you can't, because they only release TV shows on a Wednesday, and this is the final Wednesday of the year. So technically, they couldn't go any later because it's not a movie. So that's a Friday when Disney Plus drops their movies. So basically, there was nothing leading up to this. There was no, hey, here comes something, or you get some sort of preview shot or some behind the scenes stuff. You heard that this was being filmed. We had a bunch of the actors and the directors and whatnot confirm that it was being worked on right now, but there was no, like, all of a sudden, here you go, Boba Fett, everyone, more Star Wars, just out of the blue. And I mean, it's fair to say that we're all fans of Star Wars. I mean, we basically built our relationship. Just a bit. We built our friendships through playing the Star Wars role-playing game in college, in between classes or after classes or during classes. And
in lieu of classes.
In lieu of classes, yeah, exactly. And it was the thing that bound us together. And when Mandalorian came out, we were like blown away, because this is a spectacular thing that we were seeing. Season 2 of Mandalorian, again, just equally blown away. And the added bonus of bringing back the character of Boba Fett, who has less than 10 minutes of screen footage, including special edition cuts in the original trilogy. And it's this character that was so mysterious and became this fan favorite and all that, but he just went off in this quick little way and whatever. Well, we got reintroduced to Boba Fett, and finding out that he is the kick-ass bounty hunter that we've all built up in our minds over the years of reading fanfics or comic book or extended universe novels and whatnot, that are now technically legend stuff and all that. But knowing at the end of Mandalorian 2 that we got the teaser that Boba Fett will be returning in the Book of Boba Fett to the end of 2021, and we got this trailer now just like a month, like 2 months ahead of when it's supposed to be out, and this was spectacular. This was a fantastic visually. I mean, there isn't much to this because it's just a bunch of glamour shots and whatnot. We see a lot of new characters. We see a lot of new settings. We don't see anything technically really that we've already seen. We got some Tusken Raiders. We got some like Tristarians. We know that Fennec Shan is with Boba Fett and all that. We know that Boba Fett is basically taking over as a crime lord. He is basically picking up the mantle of where Jabba the Hutt is, but he's going to be a fair ruler sort of thing. But
They all
A lot
say
more
that.
democratic than I was expecting.
Yeah, they all say it'll all be good under my rule.
yeah, exactly. Remember the last guy? Well, he's
Yeah.
be fine here. Yeah, sure. But it just looks like, again, it's going to be a fantastic ride. And Favreau and Filoni look like they've like hit it out of the park again, and we've only got like a minute and 47 seconds worth of footage.
Now, I'm going to say it. I mean, there's a short little look there of Boba Fett with his, with the helmet off, and Tamura Morrison looks so much better, in the Book of Boba Fett as he did in the Mandalorian. Mandalorian, he was pale, he had scars, he was kind of bloated looking. Now it looks like he's slimmed down a bit. He's got a bit of a tan. So obviously, not wandering the desert and having his armor back is good for him.
Maybe it's back, Kang.
Maybe. But I like the fact that they're using this as a way of, a little bit of time has passed and he's, gotten healthy. Now, I was reading something about at the very start of the trailer, we see one of the Beniri monks, the guys who like take their brains and stick it in a jar and wander around. And I remember in some of the lore, they have advanced medical technology in the bowels of Jabba's palace. That's the stuff they use to take the brains out, successfully stick them in the jars, because these guys in the jars last thousands of years. And they had an agreement with Jabba that Jabba and his men didn't bug them, and they got to stay in the monastery, which Jabba's palace was this monastery of these monks. So maybe Boba's made the same sort of agreement, and they've like, we'll tell you what, we'll make you a little healthier than you were, because I'm sure being in the guts of the Sarlacc and wandering the deserts of Tatooine have not been the best health wise for him. So,
and fun fact about that, it's the opening shot of this trailer. And when I saw that movement, I was like, that is definitely from Phil Tippett. Like, no way around it. And sure enough, my buddies that are still working at Tippett went, hey, I didn't know they were going to show this so soon. Yep, that was us. We did that. So that's fun to see that Phil Tippett's back doing animation on this.
So yeah, I saw this trailer and I'm super excited. I'm super stoked. I'm like, can't wait for it to drop. Because this one, it feels like it's going to be kind of more like The Godfather in a way. Like it has that vibe to it. Him like someone I've seen people talking about it's the Star Wars Sopranos.
Yeah. And it's totally like one of the role-playing games we would have done back in college. Like
absolutely,
just about everybody was some sort of a bounty hunter or rogue of some sort.
Bounty hunter takes over a crime syndicate. That sounds completely like a campaign we'd have.
Right. And so looking through the trailer, looking through the trailer, it looks like a really good adventure. So
except for
I'm
Amon
really
Calamari on Tatooine.
Yeah,
anyone got some water?
Calamari have to stop on Tatooine. They're just like, oh man.
Yeah.
Really?
I hate sand.
Could I bother you for a sip of water?
And another sip of water. And could you just hand me the jug?
Yeah, but there's so much fun stuff that looks like there's happening in this trailer. Like all the different people that look like they're part of the crime syndicate. Just seeing Boba Fett on the throne after Bib Fortuna's untimely demise in The Mandalorian.
Untimely demise, yeah.
Well, he didn't time for it.
No, definitely,
He didn't expect it to come.
The only shot in there where I was kind of wondering is that scene where all the guards or soldiers have the force fields. Star Wars is one thing, like I know they did in the prequels, and maybe they're doing that as like a little throwback to the prequel trilogy. But in the original trilogy, you never really saw force fields. Like they always talked about them, but it always seemed like an invisible thing. So that's just the only thing that is out of place from, you know, like the old school Star Wars visual look. However, everything else is just spot on, like from the ships to the costumes to the attitudes, everything about it. So yeah, really looking forward to this one.
Well, in the 2D animated version of the Clone Wars, the one where I believe it's the bounty hunter Dursk, that the one that has the like tentacle sort of creation, the guy in the helmet and all that, he himself had wrist-mounted circular shields that he used to fight off. Now that has since become legend, but in Clone Wars, the Mandalorians have lightsaber protectable shields that also showed up. So it's Dave Filoni bringing in from what he created in the Clone Wars into. So it looks like it was a lost sort of technology that is now starting to find it, because it's looks like these are the only characters that have it.
There's a way you can
seen,
write it in. My only thought is, if you look at Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, they always talk about shields. You know, you have to blow the shield generator. You have to pass through the shields. We never saw a single shield in 3 movies. So for me, visually, it's like that's part of the lore. You know, that's part of the visual Bible of what is Star Wars. So that's something that's kind of adding.
Well, judging from the weapons they're using, the energized staffs, which could be like force staffs, or I know in some of the books I talk about, like the Sith have these pain staffs and stuff like that, and then even the staffs that the Grievous's guards use, these kind of look like a variation of it. So yeah, these guys could be using lost tech from the Clone Wars, and since they're all dressed the same, they're probably from the same crime syndicate, or bounty hunter or bodyguard sort of outfit, or mercenaries. And this is they probably stumbled upon a cache of this stuff, and this is part of their standard equipment, but it's not standard. So this is why they probably charge higher prices, because hey, we got energy shields and we got energy spears, and you know, we can take down Mandalorians, we can take down Jedi.
What do you think, Evan?
I'm just I'm happy that Boba Fett finally gets a chance to actually shine on his own. When he showed up in the Mandalorian, it was very cool. Oh shit, that's Boba Fett! It's Boba Fett! Boba Fett, where? Just the sheer excitement from that I was really worried after that point, was how much is Boba Fett going to overshadow Mando? That was my big concern. Fortunately, they used him sparingly, so he wasn't kind of like Boba Fett steps in and now the episode is all about him. He's kind of kept sort of a background kind of character for a lot of the episodes he was in. Well, lots. Sorry, what, 2 episodes, 3 max. But now that we've got the Book of Boba Fett coming out, now we get to see him, the character, the real Boba Fett, coming into the foreground. So now, hopefully, the legends that we've built up in our own mind from, what was it? You said 12 minutes of screen time, pretty much.
Something like that. Yeah.
And
just under 12.
And half of it was standing there standing motionless with no disintegrations like pointed at him. So I mean, the legend of Boba Fett, when he was such so monumental. This mysterious character, nobody had any idea who this guy was, except he was obviously the coolest bounty hunter in the entire galaxy. And this was all based on the fans just going, like, supplying all their own sort of their own excitement and just everything about him was a blank slate. There's nothing to really know until they started coming out with the various books, and even then that wasn't officially canon. So now that this is kind of a canon version of Boba Fett's story, now all I can hope is that they live up to what the expectations are. I mean, he certainly did in The Mandalorian. I mean, he was a badass fighter, exactly what I wanted to see from Empire Strikes Back, capturing the fighting off the stormtroopers to get Han Solo. I mean, obviously, there was a deal that got worse and worse, but still, it would have been kind of cool seeing him actually fight. But I mean, I get the
Like just getting hit in the jetpack and falling into a hole.
Yeah.
Was that a Wilhelm scream that I heard there? Or
Yeah.
Now, I am going to go on a limb, and I really hope that somewhere in the Book of Boba Fett, we either see IG-88, Bosk, or Dengar.
Oh, for sure. Hopefully,
I
at the very
wanna
least,
see-
at the very
I
least,
want to see one of those three,
Yeah.
either in passing or in a hologram communication between him and someone else.
That's
I
that's pretty doable.
I want to see at least one of the
Dengar would
three.
be a great fit.
Or even
Yeah.
Forlom and Zuckuss.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
That would be at the lowest end, but I want to see either IG-88, Bosk, or Dengar
yeah.
talking to
Well,
Boba Fett.
we've seen what an IG assassin droid is capable of doing.
And he was a
so-
lesser model.
Exactly. I mean, delegated
thing-
to nurse droid, but still. To nurse
One
and
thing I
protect.
thought when you saw all the gangsters at the table, I was wondering what the hell is a Gorn doing as part of the crime syndicate? And I was like, oh wait, it's one of those Bosch aliens. What are they called? The
Trandoshans.
Transitions, yeah.
So that was cool. But at first I was like, whoa, crossover. No,
Yeah.
wait. We know
And
those.
it's also nice to see that their animated faces, which is kind of nice. That
Right.
yeah, so that's kind of cool. But definitely, we're all definitely looking forward to this for sure, because it's the last Star Wars thing we're going to get this year. Which at the very end, I guess that's the best we can get.
Yeah, because then it's to set us up for next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to it.
For sure. So the next thing we have, we're going to complete 180 from the Book of Boba Fett, and we have a full trailer, which is trailer number 2 compared to last week's teaser trailer of Moonfall. And again, these are from the people that brought you Independence Day and Independence Day 2 and Godzilla and The Day After Tomorrow. And if you've seen those movies, set that more into Earth space sort of thing, and you got Moonfall. This looks to be some sort of giant monster in the moon, and they're investigating
dark side of the moon.
the dark side of the moon. That you're not supposed to go to the dark side of the moon. Well, this is what happens.
I did say it had to have the dark side of the moon last week, didn't I?
Totally did. And I'm pretty sure if we had sat down, we'd been able to write up the script for this movie.
We just need a handful of damp cocktail napkins, and we could
Exactly.
dialogue included.
Had a couple of chimpanzees, and we've got ourselves a script.
Yeah, exactly.
We just need a 3-year-old to point out plot holes.
Yeah, but it looks like pretty much the same. And again, this is going to be one of those, hey, we got this big cast. Hey, we got this amazing budget for our special effects. It's going to look cool. It's going to sound cool.
We got Donald Sutherland.
I was surprised. Okay, I was totally blown away when it's like, whoa, Donald Sutherland. I didn't realize he was desperate for work, but
He's the voice of reason.
yeah, I mean, he is the voice of reason. Well, every movie has the voice of reason in it. I mean, he's the Judd
It's a Roland
Hirsch.
Emmerich film. There's always someone who's
a
Donald
Donald Sutherland
guy who has all the answers.
Exactly. But again, it looks like it's going to be something that is going to be cool to see. But you're going to walk out of this movie going, what the fuck was that?
Well, the thing is you're going to have your bucket of popcorn and your drink, and as you come around the corner to get down to your seat, you got to reach up and turn off the logical switch on your
for
brain,
sure.
because otherwise, in the first 5 minutes, you're going to be like, "What the?"
Yeah.
So you just turn that off.
And I
Watch
won't.
however long it is, and
Yeah.
as you leave, turn it back on, and then go, "What the hell did I just watch?"
Yeah. And that's not to say that their movies are not entertaining. I watch Independence Day annually. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a great movie to watch, but you definitely have to turn off that center of your brain that is the logic center and just enjoy the ride. There
These
are
kind
other
of movies, I just like to watch the effects reels. It's like, you
for
know
sure.
what? I'll stay out of the theater, but once all the effects companies say, this is how we did this, and you see all the beautiful effects.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, for
I'll
sure.
grab
I
my
want to see
popcorn for
behind the
that.
scenes, like how they did it.
Yeah.
Because-
Oh no, the stuff like I mean, out of all these movies, the only one that really doesn't do well altogether is Godzilla. I mean, the effects are not that great. The cast doesn't seem to be as cohesive as any of their other movies, and the behind the scenes stuff is like ridiculous because they show you a lot of the stuff that they tried to do that didn't work, and it just like it's not that good. But other things like Independence Day, and even, I mean, the second Independence Day is not a good movie, but visually it's cool. The cast is interesting. I love how they worked around certain characters. What do you mean Will Smith's not returning to this movie, but everyone else is? Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's his son. No, it's his stepson. But
yeah, it's his son.
Yeah.
Adopted son.
Yeah, it's his adopted son. Yeah, it's Vivica A. Fox's son from the first movie, all grown up. Oh, well, I guess that's how we're getting. And a portrait of who hangs a portrait of a warrior in the White House? Like, no, you get presidents hung in the portraits hung in the White House. Like, who is like, did he later become president? Is that it? But anyways.
See, these are the notes the 3-year-olds would have picked out.
Exactly. But that's not that movie. We're talking about Moonfall, and we're probably going to get pretty much the same. But again, they get a great ensemble cast, and they have some pretty good actors in this. And visually, it looks stunning. But they awaken a creature on the dark side of the moon that decides, hey, we're going to take out the planet Earth. So you're going to have a lot. What's that?
What monuments do they end up taking out?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
we know New York City's going to get the hose because it's Roland Emmerich. New York City.
Well, it's also a coastal. A lot of the coastal places are going to get completely trounced.
New York City's on the coast, but I'm just saying he's going to trash New York City. That's a given.
Yeah,
and we're going to see like some historical buildings go down. But what other monuments are going to take the hit?
Well, what haven't they taken out? Well, they could take out friggin' the one with all the faces on it.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore.
Rushmore. Wow.
That's the first one that came to my mind as well.
Yeah, Rushmore has got to go down. I mean, and of course, they'll probably take out the Eiffel Tower yet again or something like that.
The Chrysler Building's got to go again. Because
Chrysler Building, yeah.
Can't stop picking on it.
Yeah. Yeah, you always notice there's never any Canadian things taken out because Canada always seems to survive these movies.
Independence Day 2, and basically all of his films, you never see Canada because whatever the disaster stops in Canada, and they're like, no, they're too polite. Well,
exactly, yeah,
good,
yeah, exactly.
It's like my favorite cartoon of Death standing at the trick or treating. He's standing at the door. He's like, Mildred, your time is full-size chocolate bars. We're good, Mildred. We're good.
Yeah.
Wait, this is where they get maple syrup from? Shit.
Like, all right. We can't attack here.
Yeah.
So all I can think of watching the Moonfall trailers, both of them, is, well, shit. Dead Space did this already. This is the cover of Dead Space 3. Now, can you see that sort of round shape behind the logo?
Is that a moon falling towards the planet?
No, but it's a dead moon. Necromorph moon, which basically is a living organism. And all I can think of is, well, what if the moon is made of something that's lying in wait?
Cheese.
And we're going to attack the Earth.
Cheese.
Okay, did you take the crib notes from Dead Space, or you could? We're just going to copy the homework, but we're going to change it a little bit.
Oh yeah, well,
with Trevor mentioning cheese so much, that would be the best thing in the movie theaters. A big bucket of popcorn cheese flavored, and just sell that with Moonfall.
Just out of the dark side of the moon, just this big cheese tentacle roll comes up
as everyone's eating their cheesy popcorn.
Yeah. As to your point, Gavin, Independence Day is just War of the Worlds.
Oh, absolutely.
The aliens get taken out by a virus. I mean, on a Mac.
a Mac.
A Mac virus.
Anyway, they interface with everything.
Yeah.
They later didn't they later retcon it by saying that basically all of Earth's technology was based off of the alien technology they discovered back in the day?
No, technically, yeah, a little bit of it, but the second one actually totally takes whatever alien devices that are now known to the whole entire world to advance Earth's technology. So
I did like that. I did like that a lot.
I read a while back that their idea was the aliens interfaced with our satellites, and Goldblum through his laptop interfaced with the set. He was already, because through his job he could interface the satellites. So the aliens had already had the bridging software, and he just used that to go, all the way back to them. That was their explanation. They could have spent 2 seconds actually saying that in the movie, and it would have been, okay, so yeah, so the aliens infiltrated the satellites, and he just used their infiltration software to backtrack to them, but they never said that. So we're just led to assume that apples can interface with anything.
All right. So enough about Moonfall.
Quick little, just so you guys can see it.
Okay, what do we got here? Oh yes,
I'm not wearing costume.
Yeah,
I'm here to take your. Holy shit! Full size Snickers. Never mind, Margaret. We're good.
We're good. Yeah. No, that is a good one. Yeah. So we're gonna move on to the next trailer, and we actually got technically 2 trailers in the same week. We got a teaser trailer for the trailer coming out the next day, which was more of an interview sort of thing for Mobius. So the first thing is we're sitting down with long-haired Jared Leto sitting there talking about being Mobius and talking about the movie and whatnot. Got a couple of clips of stuff we've already seen. And then it's basically tune in tomorrow for the full trailer. And well, the next day we get the full trailer. And I think we've already spoken up about Mobius already. I mean, I am aware of the character. I know that the character exists in the Spider-Man universe. He's a Spider-Man. Well, he's a New York-based living vampire. As far as I know, he always is supposed to be in his vampire mode. Apparently, Jared Leto can switch back and forth because he doesn't like to wear a digital face, I guess, because there's no way that this is prosthetics on him. Well, there might be prosthetics that they then, again, enhance digitally and
Jared
all that.
Leto is a method actor, so that's his real face.
That is his real face. Yeah, you think he actually the cheek. I will give them points on this. The look of Morbius's face looks really good. It is
it's very comic accurate.
It is very comic accurate. Yes, yeah, for sure. And I'll have to give them that. But the feel of this just looks like a Sony trying to cash in on something. And again, this is something that has been delayed again through COVID and whatnot. I don't think anything has been added in the time that it wasn't being released and all that. But again, it's something.
Well, they did add. So his role has not been defined, but Michael Keaton's in the movie.
Oh yes, yeah, no. We got in the very first teaser trailer way back when Michael Keaton is in. There's a quick little shot of Michael Keaton, and again, the Vulture is in the Spider-Man universe, the Sony universe and all that, but he's also being used in the MCU because he appeared in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. So it's always nice to, and yes, the PS3 version of the Spider-Man costume as visually we are being shown right now. Yes, that is the Sony universe version of the Spider-Man suit. So,
but there's at least they're tying the gaps a little bit, because again, with all these Spider-Man villains, I don't really care to see a movie of them. I mean, it's different with Boba Fett because, hey, it's Boba Fett. We played with him as a character, and we have all these stories in our head.
Yeah.
But with the Spider-Man ones, I don't think there's any Spider-Man villain I really care about as a central hero of their own story. That said, if this is a good movie, I mean, I'll watch it.
Well, Morbius was never really a Spider-Man villain per se.
No.
I always read him as, because of course I read Spider-Man comics, so I never read him in anything else. I always read him.
I read
against Spider-Man.
There was he teamed up with Blade for a while. He teamed up with Spider-Man for a bit. He was part of a couple of different teams. So he kind of skirted the line between hero and villain a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I remember of him too. But yeah, like you, Mike, a lot of my stuff is like he was going up against Spider-Man. He ran into Daredevil. I do remember him teaming up with Blade at one point. I remember seeing something about that. But
I remember he was one of the more sympathetic villains. So he looked creepy as hell, but he was a guy trying to deal with this condition that he has.
Yeah. But again, what they've done visually for the look of it, at the least the very much his face and the hair and all that, how it looks on him, it definitely looks very comic book.
With Jared Leto, because he is a method actor, do you think he was going around biting people on set?
Of course he was.
Well, at least he's not. At least we haven't heard he's sending condoms around.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, it's a totally different character though. Only the Joker would do something like that. So this movie is actually being released very, very soon. According to this, it's being released in January 22nd of 2022. So they're like a month after Spider-Man has been released. They're releasing. So Sony is just like, hey, let's put these out here. Let's get them out there. Let's get them as close as possible. And seeing the MCU is delaying everything after the Eternals, which came out this week, is going to be Sony's going to be the only Marvel out there right now for a little bit. So, I mean, good for them, but let's hope it works. Let's hope they don't shoot themselves in the foot. And who knows, there might be some sort of Mobius thing in the new Spider-Man movie, which comes out in December. So,
And did you guys see that article? Apparently Marvel was asking Sony to not show them in the latest trailer for the next Spider-Man movie. And it was very vague. I'll see if I can find it, but because we had this with the last Spider-Man movie, because obviously Tony Stark's dead, and Sony wanted to just kind of spill the beans in the trailer before Endgame even happened, and Marvel's like, whoa, no, you can't show that. Like, you have to, here, let us help you with the trailer, and you got to delay it, or like, you can't show it until this is done. Apparently, there's a conversation going on now where they don't want them to show them yet. So what is them? Is that the
Sinister Six.
Other Spider-Man? Or it could be the Sinister Six.
I think
it could
it's the
be
Sinister
the
Six.
crossover of these characters. Like, it could be. I don't know.
Because things, they've got Venom now, Morbius, Vulture. They already revealed who Scorpion is
right
in the prison scene. You just need Rhino.
I'm wondering, is it Tobey Maguire and the other
I see what you're getting
Spider-Man?
at. I see what
Or
you're getting.
like,
yeah.
but anyways, the fact that there's something, because Marvel's really great at trailers. They show you enough, but hide the things that would spoil the movie. So the fact that
Or
there's something
throw a
like
red
that,
herring out completely that throws you off.
right? Like Hulk and Wakanda, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's a good, actually a good point. So again, I mean, we don't have that long to wait. But again, we got to get through Spider-Man first. What is this one again? What's the Spider-Man? No Way Home?
No Way Home, yeah.
No Way Home, right. Yeah. So once we get past No Way Home, I'm pretty sure things will be a little more clear what the hell's going on with Morbius once we hit the end of this. Yeah. So
I just hope they don't flash him in the same way that Venom got flashed in. It seems to be like a crutch now, is that it's going to happen to the various characters that aren't in the MCU. That somehow the multiverse of madness effect is going to basically just pull everyone in. It's like, crap. I don't want to see the same thing happen to every single character that's not in the universe.
Yeah.
So here's
Again.
the news article. Yeah.
Okay.
Marvel and Sony reportedly having a dispute over showing them in the next Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. And
gotcha.
after that, it's all speculation.
Gotcha.
But-
So it could either be gotcha. Okay. Look, if Toby and Andrew do show up in the movie, cool. If not, I think there's way too much. I think there's way too much in a 2.5 hour movie that, I mean, dude, learn from your Joel Schumacher Batman movies. You don't keep adding more and more characters the further you go in. Yeah, Spider-Man 3.
perfect.
Look at Spider-Man 3. Yes. And again, Sam Raimi also had a problem with it that Sony kept pushing. No, put this guy in it. Put this guy in it. Put this guy in it. And it's too much. And I don't think you can't rush it. You can't pull a Justice League move. And I know we've established the Toby. The Toby universe, the Garfield universe. We know they're going to do something to come together because we've already been revealed that Electro is in it, and friggin' Doc Ock and Green Goblin and all that. So we know that those, yeah. So we know that Toby and Andrew. I hope that if they, I mean, I know, and again, we've got this whole entire thing that this is the last one that what's his face is going to be doing for Spider-Man. His contract is up after this. It's like, no, we know his contract isn't up after this.
He's got buckets of money coming his way.
He has got, they're gonna pay that kid so much money to come back, or he'll be like, no, I'll come back for less money, sort of thing. I mean,
well, he did say he wants to play Peter Parker Spider-Man until he's too old to do it. And
yeah,
he's
exactly.
pretty young and spry.
Yeah.
I mean, did you guys see that outtake where he actually does the Captain America flip in front of him?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
Yeah,
that was him doing it. No CGI, no stunt double. That was Tom Holland doing the fucking flip.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, Tom is a talented kid. I mean, I don't know if he's classically trained, but he is a dancer to begin with, so he has the flexibility to do that sort of thing. And again, he'll be doing it until the fact that they can bring in another character. He'll be the Spider-Man that teaches the new Miles Morales, what to do and whatnot. And
a fun thing, I don't know if you guys, we're getting way off Morbius, but in the
we were talking about Morbius.
In the Spider-Man comics,
how riveting that is.
Dan Slott had some really fun story stuff on where the Spider-Man universe can go, to the point where he makes Parker Industries, and he basically becomes like a new Tony Stark, but it's run more like a Pixar company, and lots of really neat stuff. And he still has the whole thing where he's trying to bumble around with too much responsibility and trying to handle the company and try and hide his identity and teaming up with hero. Like, it goes completely crazy. So instead of just New York, now he's got global problems because he has a global company. And Marvel could pull that. So as Tom Holland gets older, he could easily do this into his 50s until he is the new Tony Stark. And
you guys realize he's only 25, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He looks 17, but he's 25.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he got
he's
the
been
role
doing
at
this
like
for a
15.
bit. Like, he can. He's easily going to be able to do this through, Peter Parker's, post college years sort of thing.
For sure. So, Mike, for a little bit of information for you, if you go to California and you go to Disney World, the Avengers campus right there has
Disneyland.
Disneyland. Sorry, yes, has Web Industries, and it is basically a Tony Stark sort of environment that is set up spider-webs, and it is Tom Holland's Peter Parker running it. There is actually a ride where you are, it's Tom talking to the audience as Peter Parker running this thing, and then all of a sudden these little spider robots go amok, and the ride is you go through this ride to capture these things, and then apparently Spider-Man comes out and assists you, and then at the end he comes back as Parker saying, well, thanks for helping us out with that sort of thing and all that. So there
you go. And we know that Disney likes to make movies based on their rides.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no doubt that if Avengers Campus is actually the MCU, which it is, the stuff that happens in the MCU, because when we were watching Loki, when Loki came out with a different look in every single episode, the actors portraying Loki at Avengers Campus would always show up in that new costume and do their walk-arounds in that new costume. So they're definitely connecting them together and all that. So, but seeing we're no longer talking about Morbius, we're going to move on to the next trailer before we get too far. We'll exactly. We'll talk more Spider-Man when we get into December. Or at least when we finally get a trailer for this stupid movie. That's the other thing. We'll do a whole entire half-hour spiel on the movie once we get to the new trailer. But we're going to move on to a more lighthearted sort of deal, and a movie that's coming out on Netflix, which actually is already out on Netflix because it was released on the 1st of November, and that is A Boy Called Christmas. What a great after Halloween gift. So this is a very cute, very wholesome looking, sort of Narnia feeling sort of tale of the kid that would become Saint Nicholas Claus. I mean, he has a little companion talking mouse with him, which is adorably cute and very hyper realistic looking. I mean, it definitely looks like I meant to look up the voice actor that was doing the voice of the mouse and all that. It sounds familiar. I just can't place it and all that.
Oh, Stephen Merchant.
Yeah, Stephen Merchant.
Stephen Merchant. Thank you.
From
Yes.
Ricky Gervais.
Yes. I'm like, I know this voice. I just.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's okay. Wow. That I'll be able to sleep. I'll be able to sleep tonight. Thank you, Michael.
This is why we have this podcast.
Exactly.
Between the four of us, we have half a brain.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But it looks like a wholesome, hey, let's make this a traditional sort of Christmas movie and all that. And it looks great. It's got a kid cast. It's got fantastic.
I'm gonna make the girls watch it tomorrow night. So
yeah, I might even pop it on for Aslan and all that. So it's she probably loved it, and I'm sure that mouse will be a big hit. And it looks something that looks cute, adorable, family friendly sort of Christmas fare that's new, and it's.
I foresee being asked for a mouse as a pet. I'm gonna call it now.
We have two of them now. So I mean,
I've already told the girls no more pets, not until the current crop goes away.
Oh, that's a sad way to put it, but
two cats, a dog, and 2 fish. I don't want, and Harrison, I can't handle more.
And Harrison.
There you go. Just give him some ears and a nose and some whiskers. There you go.
There you go. There's your younger brother is now the mouse of the house.
Yeah, for this movie, I hope it's good. I'm hypercritical on Christmas movies because it has to capture that spirit enough that you want to watch it every single year, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes a great Christmas movie.
For sure.
You got the original Home Alone, you can watch that all the time. Like every year, I'm happy to watch it. Christmas Vacation, I can watch that every single year.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. Maybe not with everybody, but yes, you can watch Christmas Vacation. Yeah.
And with
Scrooged, Bill Murray's Scrooge
every year
is another one.
That's
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So it has that longevity.
Oh, here's another one for the older crowd. If you guys have seen it, it's Dennis Leary's The Ref. And
Lady, your husband
has Kevin Spacey in it, but you know what? Forget that. It's still a good movie and whatnot. It's a great cast and all that. Then A Ref is another one in this household that is always being watched at this time of the year. But yes, again, like you said, Mike, I'm hoping that this is one of those that, again, it's an acquired movie by Netflix. It's not produced by Netflix. It's just like, hey, someone had this for sale. Let's put it on because we've got all the monies. So, and then we're going to switch gears yet again, another 180. We're doing a lot of whip arounds, and we're going to go to the return coming out next year of Jeepers Creepers. And this is Jeepers Creepers Reborn. It's a 30-second teaser trailer that shows that the Creeper is back. If you don't know what the series is about, I would suggest the first is a good movie, the second is a good movie, the third not so much. But you know what? It's basically what it is. It should be a romp. It should be a fun romp because the Creeper himself is a cool looking character. He's a very menacing sort of thing, and it doesn't show you much in this trailer. And again, we don't actually have a date. More than likely October-ish is when it's going to come out. Maybe mid-fall sort of thing, because we know that the final Halloween movie is coming out around that time, so they may not want to compete with it, or maybe they want to go directly up against it because, you know what, Halloween Kills didn't do that well, but still.
Yeah.
I
like the Creeper as a character.
Yeah.
I like the mythology behind the character.
That was another good thing about him too. Yes.
It's like every 32 years it comes out of hibernation, it feeds for 32 days and then goes back into hibernation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there were elements of the second movie that I liked and a lot of elements I didn't. But the thing is the whole series kind of got tainted with the writer / director of the first two.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So it's nice to see that they're trying to at least take a sidestep and start it again and see if they can, because it's a cool enough character. You don't
know
want
the story about the director. What happened with that? I'm assuming something pretty horrible.
Child sex abuse and pornography charges. Child pornography charges. Just a despicable human being.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what they do with the Jeepers Creepers Reborn. As I said, I really like the mythology behind it. I think it was a smart way of doing it, but we'll see how it goes.
Whenever I hear the Creeper, I keep thinking of Steve Ditko's DC comic character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And And then we're going to go back to the Christmas feel, and we're going to get a bit of a Princess Bride, bit of a Christmas story, sort of a mashup sort of thing. And this is called 8-Bit Christmas, which is coming to HBO Max on November 24th. And this is basically Neil Patrick Harris is trying to relate to his daughter about sometime in the mid 80s, early 80s, not 100% sure, when him and his friends wanted to get the Nintendo Entertainment System. The NES was released. Mm-hmm. And it basically is a father telling the daughter a story back and forth. It has a very Peter Falk and like telling a story from Princess Bride, and the kid keeps interrupting him and he's like corrects whatever and all that. It looks to be like a fun movie. I'm hoping, like we have in the past, like A Christmas Story is a great Christmas movie to see. It's not everyone's flavor, but it is a entertaining movie to see. This looks like it's trying to be like the next version of that sort of movie. And I like Neil Patrick Harris. He's
feels like A Christmas Story.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a Christmas
instead
story.
of the Red Ryder BB gun.
Yeah,
it's a Nintendo.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to turn into a Die Hard. These kids like breaking in and taking over, and then Bruce Willis has to come and stop them from stealing Nintendos or something.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. But it does, again, it looks like it's trying for that. Hey, when you were a kid, you watched this movie. Here's an updated version that's more tuned to when you were a kid. Like you didn't have a Red Ryder BB gun when you were a kid, but you had an NES.
Yeah, I looked at this. Hey, I kind of lived through some of that, wanting a Nintendo at Christmas and then getting one and just eyeballs falling out, sort of thing.
At first, I was thinking all the kids watching this would say, "Dad, you actually played video games that were that crappy." But then again, Mega Man's my kids' favorite games, and they're used to playing 8-bit games, so it's like, okay, they can relate.
Well, yeah, and again, it's just look at the time. The in the 80s, when A Christmas Story was released, it was referring back 30 years, and now we are 40 years back from us is when the Nintendo was out. And yeah, I know I know it's a scary number to think about, but
play some games for us.
35
on the background.
35 years.
35 years, yes. Okay, yeah. But still, it looks, I'm hopeful for this. We got an HBO Max release, so it's direct to HBO, and no theatrical release as far as I know. So we got the 23rd. And then we have one sort of one that was put up in our little conversation about another HBO Max movie, which is being released at the festive time of December 16th. And that is Station 11. Now this looks to be a really heavy subject to be putting out at this time of the year. I mean, good on you there, HBO Max. I mean, but
the phrase "too soon" really hits hard right now.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, this book was written it was published in 2014.
No, I understand. And
that, HBO got the rights for like a while back, long before COVID was even something people talked about.
Yeah,
and they had tried to. First, it was going to be adapted into a movie, just a 2-hour
I actually thought
movie.
this was a documentary at first,
and then they realized there's so much stuff in that novel. I mean, I've read the novel. The novel's amazing, but there's just so much in there. You can't putting it into a 2-hour format it wouldn't do it.
You're gonna lose it, and you won't. You're gonna lose so much from it. Yeah.
So they decided to go the route of the miniseries. Unfortunately, the topic right now is it's a little hard to swallow because it's like, oh God. But I mean,
so what it is is basically the storyline is you're in a world where a flu-like disease has wiped out a number of people, and there is
most of the population of
the planet. Yeah, there are still people trying to live a regular life around that, but other than that, so you go on there, Trevor.
Well, I don't want to. I mean, I definitely don't want to spoil. This is something that I think people need to watch because the book is so heavily character driven, and there are it's almost like the coincidences of certain people who, met before the flu and then meet up after and don't realize who they're meeting up with. And it's heartbreaking sometimes when you're like, oh, this character, and you meet up and you're like, oh man, and you realize all that person has lost on a personal level, and you're like, how are you getting through each day, with that much burden upon your shoulders of what you've lost.
I want to know, is there a happy ending? Does it teach us how to get through COVID? Or do we just end up doomed? No, you're not going to say? Damn it, now I have to watch the show.
Yeah, you're going to have to watch it now. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, at first I was like, oh, it kind of like sounds like that book. And then I started watching, like, oh, it is the book. Oh.
That's cool. That's kind of cool.
And I recognized, I'd say 90% of every scene that they taught, like that they show. I'm like, oh, I know where that's from. And she's like, oh, the scene that happened just before that, the scene that, what comes after that, and they don't show it. You're like, oh my God.
Well, that's a good sign. I always like it when people are well versed in the story and they respond that way to something as simple as a trailer.
I was shocked how quickly, because I'd read the book and it's still fresh in my mind, how quickly they would start, like, they cut to a scene, and within the first second, I'd be like, I know exactly what that is. I know exactly where that takes place in the novel. And then they cut, and you're like, oh, you cut right there, and you son of a bitch, you didn't let it play out. So yeah, that's why I'm excited to see this. I hope I just hope that they do it justice. And from what I've seen, it looks like they have. So yeah, when it comes out, I'll definitely try to binge this thing. But it's on HBO, and HBO has a habit of releasing not all at once.
Yeah, it's going to be a weekly thing. Do we know who the author is? Did I just miss you talking about the author?
Oh God, I can't remember the author.
Emily John Mandel.
St. John Mandel.
Okay.
Emily St. John Mandel.
Emily St. John Mandel. I do not know of her or
Canadian.
any of her. Okay. But raves from Trevor's just on seeing the trailer and whatnot. So that's
I know the book itself won several awards, like the big ones, like the Arthur C. Clarke Award, because it was just like a really, the circumstances, yes, but it's the way the characters are written. You instantly get sucked into their lives, and you want to see where they go. So
okay, so as long as they can pull that off.
Yeah.
Smooth sailing. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. And we're just going to end off our little trailer coming attractions with the, I guess it would be more of a teaser trailer for, because we don't actually have a release date yet of Stranger Things Season 4. And now we're basically jumping a little ahead in timeline, which is a good thing because these kids are going to start growing up anytime soon. And so we can see from this trailer, some of them have really grown up. We now know that 11 has moved out to California with Toby and Winona Ryder, because I can't remember the mother's name, to California, and she's trying to live out her life. She's writing back to oh great, I was just about to call him Trevor because that's his name in Ghostbusters. What's his name in Stranger Things?
Is it Mike?
Yeah, it's Mike.
It's Mike. Yes, it's
Mike. Yeah, is the one.
Yes, Mike is
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Will
right,
is the one
right.
who's
Right. Will. Yeah. So she's writing to him saying, "I can't wait for spring break to come back," and then she's having a tough time. And then we get a mishmash of like, things going wrong and whatnot, and explosions and doors in the middle of the desert and whatnot, and
gunfire and.
Exactly, yeah, and it looks very Stranger Things-ish. To also put onto the actual thing about it is today, because of the release of it, we got what they are calling Stranger Things Day for Netflix, and we actually have this release of a couple of General Mills cereals that are actually purchasable through Netflix. They're going for about $17 a box, and we just have alterations on Lucky Charms, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Cheerios. If you look at the video version of this conversation, you'll see what we're talking about. But they've inverted like the General Mills symbol. Cheerios is written upside down. You have different free things, like you can win a toy van offer from Lucky Charms and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. The bowl is actually upside down, and there's tokens. You can get some $5 worth of tokens from the video game arcade. And there's even
the cinnamon shaker, and the thing beside it is the Demogorgon.
Yes, the Demogorgon. You're right. I just saw that now, and yeah, so it's kind of a cool thing. You can actually win a shopping spree at the mall from the third season. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly, because apparently they reopened it after the disaster of the previous.
And it looks like it's Russian writing on the Cheerios.
Why?
Box.
So it is now that comes up. Yes, it totally is. Yeah. Let's see.
And if you look at the Lucky Charms, that is the old 80s style.
It is the
logo.
old 80s style. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and it has Christmas lights coming off of Lucky's spoon, which is kind of neat to see.
And he's holding a D20.
And he's holding a D20. Oh, that's amazing. That is on the Demogorgon is the clover. Yes, that is so cool.
They've really, and if you look at the bowl itself underneath, that's the Mind Flayer.
Oh yeah, so it is in the sky. Yeah, the drawing in the sky. That is fantastic. Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. They went all out for that. Well, I mean, it's Netflix and it's their bread and butter.
And nothing says it's for kids like Mind Flayers.
2 plain cereal.
Crispy sweetened 2 plain cereal. Yeah, there you go. It tastes like cinnamon toast. That is really cool. So yeah, they did a great job on that. And again, go to Netflix and you can buy this stuff. So.
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Well, this is something I'd like to do a future podcast. Just do a deep dive into Stranger Things, because I could go on and on about the things I absolutely loved and the things I absolutely hated. So we should put that in the future show card sometime.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, we'll probably do something a little closer to the actual release of the 4th season. Yeah. I mean, that'll also give us all time to either rewatch or catch up or whatnot if we feel that that's necessary. All right, so that brings us to the end of our coming attractions. So what we're going to do is we're going to just talk about a couple of other things that are happening on a lot of television and movies and all that. To start off with, as everyone knows, like I said, this is the 6th of November, 2021, and this week, Marvel Studios released, the MCU released their latest movie of that they released, The Eternals, theatrically. It's not being streamed anywhere else. It's being released theatrically. And we're going to state right now that due to circumstances, whoever has whatever excuses and all this is probably one of the movies that we ourselves as a collective are probably going to end up skipping just because of situation. I mean, if we have a chance to see it, we'll see it, but none of us are really going to, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I apologize if I am overstepping my bounds and all that, but I don't believe this is one that anyone was really too keen on seeing, because I think, I don't know. What do you say about this?
You were going to, weren't you, Gavin?
Yes, Amanda has been very, very gung-ho about seeing this, and I'm intrigued by where or what it's going to tell. I mean, the Eternals, I don't know too much about the comic incarnations of them. So Marvel's taken a huge leap of faith with basically telling a completely brand new story. Reviews coming in seem to be kind of a mixed bag. People are either really liking it or really not liking it. So I feel like I'm probably going to be one of the people who sees what they're doing and enjoying it, but I'll obviously have to wait until watching it, which is hopefully going to be next week or so. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy was nobody knew who they were.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. Yeah,
I don't expect this to be like one of the best Marvel movies I've ever seen, but I will say that they have yet to not entertain me. If that's a way to describe it.
But I have to hold.
And like I've said, I would like to see this movie, but unfortunately, the way things are nowadays with like limited seating or availability and whatnot, I if I get to see it, I will see it. I definitely want to see it. If I have to wait until it comes on to Disney Plus, then I will wait till Disney Plus. I mean, like for it is like the rest of the group here has seen Shang-Chi, and because they were able to see it in the theaters. I unfortunately am waiting until, Disney Plus Day when it gets released on Disney Plus to be able to watch it. But again, if that's what I have to do, I want to see this movie because I know it is the next one. And the other thing is, the nice thing is, I know there is going to be some time between this and the next MCU movie. So it's not like I'm going to be missing out on anything like time-wise, because the next MCU movie after this is Doctor Strange, and that's not until May now, because it got moved off. So I've got some time before I have to see this if it has anything to connect with, because I highly doubt it's going to connect to Spider-Man. That's for sure. So, but if it does, I'm going to be so.
When does Spider-Man come
out? December
17th.
Yeah, whatever that Friday is. So yeah.
So that's the next MCU movie.
Yeah. Well, I meant, yes, I highly doubt the Eternals is going to be connected directly to, because it's a Sony Marvel movie. So that's what I meant. Like I could see, anyways.
For myself for this one, I just haven't seen enough in trailers to captivate my attention. This is one I'd be happy to just wait until other people see it, hear the feedback, see if there's anything really important to watch in it. If I can just get the Cole's Notes version or the Geeking Off the Page recap, that'll be enough for me, unless everybody says, no, guys, you're really missing something important here. You have to go see it. But otherwise, I don't think there's enough that's been shown in the trailers or teasers or anything else that has really got my attention to make it worth the trip to the theaters or drive-ins or whatever.
All right. So that being said,
for me, if I had to, if I could go see a movie this November, if I had to pick a movie, I'll go see Ghostbusters first.
Mm-hmm.
So
same.
And after that, I'd see Encanto. Because the thing is, I want to take the girls to see that, but I can't until they get their vaccinations. I don't want to risk it. So I just have to wait. It's life, I guess.
What we're going to do is we're going to move on to our next subject, and that is going to be I'm just going to throw in something really quickly today. That today was the release of the 20th anniversary release of 24, the good old Keith Sutherland TV series and all that. And today they actually had, for charity, they had an online basically convention. It was all Zoom meetings, and it was like several different like panels, which was kind of cool because they talked to directors and writers and a lot of the cast. The composer was all there and all that, and it was actually quite an entertaining, like 6 or 7 hours worth of this. 9 hours. There you go, 9 hours, because Adrian saw a good like 90% of the whole entire thing, and it was actually kind of neat to see all these and hear about all the making of this groundbreaking TV series from 20 years ago. Now, I don't know how much of you guys were a fan of the series 24.
I watched some of it. I always had the question though, because each episode they had the clock running, and I was like, when does he stop to go to the bathroom? Like, it was that why he was so angry, because he's just been holding it that long?
Really constipated.
It was just like, Jack, take 5 minutes for yourself.
Did they ever run Depends ads on that TV show?
It was just like, buddy,
definitely not laxatives.
That's why you're angry.
But I watched the whole entire series. Adrian is a huge fan of it, and a huge fan of Keith Sutherland and all that. And of course, it was a groundbreaking TV series. The way it was shot, the way it was done together. Through this whole entire day, found out different things about it. How it was actually shot on like video, but it was done with a dual camera, and how they would have to coordinate so that the cameras never crossed over each other, and how everything was put together, and how they didn't know from week to week who was going to be like either killed or
Turn back.
introduced or turned into a bad guy. They were talking to one of the casting directors, how she was given a script one day and had like 4 days to cast all the new characters and not be able to tell those people, okay, in next week's episode, you're going to be killed, or in 5 weeks from now, you're going to be Jack's best friend, which means you're going to be killed, or you're going to turn into the bad guy in like 10, or you're going to come back 2 seasons from now or something like that. So it was just a fascinating way to see how this show was put together, and it was just a fun time. And the great thing is it was all done for charity, so it was kind of cool how it was, what was it, Operation Smile, which was kind of nice to see that sort of thing being done. So it was definitely,
It was worth my $30.
there you go. Adrian says it was well worth the $30 that she paid for charity, which was kind of neat. So that being said, I want to move on to a project I'm going to be calling Theorizing Time Travel. And it's something we're going to bring up every once in a while, but I just want to talk about how last actually Sunday, which was Halloween, and the new season of Doctor Who premiered. Now, this is the second to last season for the 13th Doctor, which is being played by Jodie Whittaker, and she is introduced in. We're introduced to a new companion that is introduced to this series, and it's kind of a cool thing. They're basically, it's an abridged season this year. It is actually only going to be 6 episodes, and you can tell it's going to be a well done series because it looks like the budget is being used from what is usually a 12 episode season is being put into this 6 episode season. And from the first season, from the first episode, we're introduced to a new alien race. We're introduced to the Weeping Angels are in this, and it looks like this whole entire season is going to be a 6 episode arc. So it's going to be more like the classic Doctor Who, where you have to watch several episodes to get the full episodes together. Now, obviously, they're hour-long episodes that are not like the 15 minutes that are all chopped up like the classic and all that, but the feel and the look of it are really cool. And we also have information that next season is only going to be 2 movies that are going to be with Jodie as the 13th Doctor. And then in 2023, the original guy who brought back the reboot of
Russell T. Davis.
Russell T.
Yes.
Davis is becoming the showrunner again. Which
That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and that also puts him into the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. So Russell T. Davies will be responsible for writing the stories for the 60th and as well the 60th anniversary episode. And as we know, 10 years ago when they did the 50th anniversary episode, we had a nice David Tennant and Matt Smith working together with a really great story and all that sort of thing. So that's pretty much the fun sort of thing. We're also introduced to oh no, I got to look up the name because I cannot remember what the name of them are. The potato head guys, Sontarians. I knew it was Solarius. Yes, no, the Sontarians are back into this. All right, so we're gonna follow up on something else from next week, and we're going to actually do a revisit to the world of Dune, because this past week one of our fellow actually was able to see it as well. And Gavin, how about you talk about your experiences with Dune? Why don't you go ahead and start that?
And the great thing is, me and Trevor won't talk over you. Go.
No promises.
Well, I saw it last Saturday. This was a movie that Amanda was almost resolute in not watching for a long time. She was only convinced by a coworker of hers who said it was pretty much like a seminal piece of science fiction, and that this was possibly one of the best translations of the book he's ever seen. And so she finally agreed to go see it with me. I have to say after having read the book more than a few times back in the day, this more than exceeded my expectations. The majesty of the world of Dune, the house, the houses, all sort of felt, this bigger than it is, or or bigger than life kind of feel. It finally gave the best interpretation I've seen of the book. It finally did the book real justice. The casting was all perfect, was all spot on. Even the kid, I was a little hesitant about the kid, but he pulled it off like incredibly. I think my only real issue with that movie was the fact that Duncan didn't need to die. He could have just sealed up the doors and gone with them. But really, it was phenomenal. The sandworms were even more monstrous than anything has led me to believe in either the original movie with Sting and Jean-Luc Picard, and then the BBC series. Yeah, I mean, it was TV quality level, CG back when it was released. I think it was the 90s or so. So it was pretty, yeah, it was so for the visual effects. But this incarnation of the sandworms was just unbelievable. Felt insignificant in comparison to them. Even the technology, just the sheer size of the ships, the sheer the spectacle of seeing this gigantic mass just descending from the sky and landing. It just felt like the technology was fully embraced. In short, I really liked it, and I'm so happy there's a sequel coming, or rather, not sequel, part 2.
You've read the books, right?
Yes.
Was there anything missing that you wish was in the movie, or were you happy with the way it turned out?
I think,
as far as story and
I think I was as happy with the story as I think would be feasible without turning into like a 4 to 5 hour movie where you'd need to hook up your own your own still suit in order to recycle your urine.
That's not a bad idea. They should have marketed that with the movie. That would be great.
The Dune catheter now included.
Just keep recycling your Pepsi.
Still warm.
Probably tastes better too.
I didn't say Coke for you, Troy.
I know. And that's why I said the Pepsi would probably taste better.
Now, I will admit it has been a while since I've read the books. I've been meaning to revisit the books, and I'll probably do that over the next couple of months or so. I've got like the entire library of Dune sitting on my e-reader right now, so it's a little daunting to contemplate it. But all of the major points that I remember being very important in the book were there, and I don't recall if there was anything that was outright missing. Although I do remember the creatures in the tanks that from the first movie. Yeah, the navigators. I thought that was something that they could have, at least as a sort of a world flavoring thing. They could have.
Although technically, they're not brought in until the second book. Like they're talked about, but you don't really see them or you don't get a description.
Yeah, but they aren't described until the
Yeah.
second book.
And one
Dune
thing
Messiah.
that I'm really looking forward to for anybody that's read the books, two things if they keep going with this movie series: the God Emperor, Leto II. I want to see what that looks like, and chair dogs. I really want to see a chair dog.
Did we see a chair dog in the David Lynch version? No, I don't think so.
No, they don't show up
No.
until later books.
Okay, gotcha. I gotcha. Now, do we also are we aware of information that I think I heard on Kevin Smith's podcast about how he wanted to make this a trilogy, so he wanted to make 2 more movies. So yeah, I think he
Well,
wanted to
if-
turn this into a trilogy. So I
If
mean,
that's the case, if
7
the
hours?
next movie is the second half of the book,
yeah,
and then the third part is the second book,
yeah, because I think he
that
doesn't.
could really work well because that shows the tragic ending.
Yeah, and I think he also
Yeah.
mentioned that they start to get a little too spacey, like a little too like abstract sort of thing, and he doesn't think he can pull that off, but he definitely knows that he can at least pull off 2 more movies of using information from the books. But yeah, so we might get a trilogy out of this particular thing. And if there's a conclusion after the end of the second book, then that might be what we get.
Mhm.
All right, so everyone's all caught up on that then. Mr. Brown has a finger up asking for something.
I have a point. So I had mentioned last week comparing the new Dunk to the old Dunk because the E is not really that well defined. Anyway, I preferred Lynch's vision of the opulence. So like in the new Dune, as I said, at one point they're being the one character is being followed by a light, and it looks like a disc, like the flying donut. And so I have a screen grab from.
Oh, that's good because we could not remember what the hell these look like from the Lynch
And
version.
that was the Lynch version. It's like this super fancy looking.
I'm not seeing a image.
You're not seeing an image. Let's see. Hold on, let me check the screen share. These things are never. One check.
Your screen came up, but it was just a black image.
All right. You see that? Is there anything?
No, it's still
Oops.
blank. I think it's probably the
How about
copy
that?
protection.
Oh, is it probably copy protection? Yes.
Probably.
I'll see if I can actually.
Actually,
grab
you can see it in the little thumbnails at the bottom. That's a workaround.
I was about to say, yeah, we sort of can see it there.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I see. You're actually trying to play the movie. That's why. Oh, yeah. No, they're
Yeah.
definitely not going to let you do that on a screen share. Yeah, especially HBO Max. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
have
but
the
yeah, it's
technology.
the like the floating light has like like these big brass wings. It kind of almost looks like a flying creature. And it's got the lights spin underneath. It's not like a flying illuminated donut. And there's just little things like the emperor's palace, like his throne room. It looks opulent. It looks lavish. And then in the more recent Dune, Villeneuve's Dune, I reiterating, him and the cinematographer seemed to fall in love with these large, environmental shots. Dune itself, the movie itself looks so gorgeous. I think this movie's going to win hands down when it comes to cinematography. But I don't get the sense of, this is like a 10,000 year or 5,000 year empire sort of thing going on, because it doesn't look like they've been around long enough. They haven't fallen into that state of decadence where, like in the what's his face, Raban, when he's seated with Harkonnen in the Lynch version, where he's got that little creature in the thing, and he squishes the creature and then drinks the juice out of it, and then just casually tosses it away. It's a quick throwaway scene, a quick throwaway item, but it shows that level of, such extreme wealth that they don't care. Everything is a throwaway to them, even life itself, as long as it's not theirs. So, and
I thought they captured some of that feel where he's picking out at the table, where he's talking to the Duke. but it's true. It wasn't quite the throwaway. It's not like dumping the water on the floor.
Yeah,
You know,
it's not like ripping open the still suit and saying, the desert, let him go to the desert, like let the
Right.
desert. Like it lacked that sense of, like the ultra rich where they have no concept of what people need day to day to survive, because it's so far beneath their thought process. That's what this movie lacked in terms of like dealing with like the Harkonnens and the Emperor. Like the Atreides seem to be more in touch with their people and their needs, but the Harkonnens should be the exact opposite. They don't care. As long as their needs are being met, they don't care what it takes for other people to make those needs being met. So that's where I felt like things were it was missing. And then we've discussed the scenes that were missing, like the big dinner party scene, the fact that, and as much as I love the designs, the Harkonnens need red hair because that helped.
I agree.
In the books,
Even if it's just eyebrows,
they go on about the infamous red hair of the Harkonnens, and then they kind of subtly mention that Lady Jessica, the consort, has red hair, and then you learn later that she's actually the daughter of Vladimir Harkonnen. And
spoilers.
Spoiler. So it's little things like that, because you learn about the breeding program and what the Bene Gesserit had, they had to get the various genetic material from to make the Kwisatz Haderach, and that it's missing from this film. And I felt it was such a shame, because they went to such great lengths to include so much to make it look like this enormous visual spectacle. The soundtrack's amazing. They had a great cast. But I felt like they missed little things here and there that, as I said, the editing, they could have really tightened up scenes and had time to put in the dinner scene, have time to put in the suspicion of Jessica as the betrayer and stuff like that. So
Me and Trevor already talked about all this, but what did you think about what Trevor said, Gavin?
I thought they I thought they embraced the decadence, the sheer spectacle of this civilization rather well. I mean, the entire commanding of Duke Atreides to take over Dune, like giant ship that almost dwarfs the palace lands, a procession of people, no idea what they do. All we know is that it's the royal consort is the one who's basically going to say, you've been instructed to take over Dune. Like, just the sheer pomp and magnitude of this, it was just dripping with this is an instruction made by someone who expects his will to be done. It doesn't matter if you can't, it will be done. I just felt like there's just so much pomp and spectacle to that entire process that to me it really spoke volumes for the sheer the decadence of this entire empire. Why send this entire thing when a one-man ship could have done the same thing? For the sheer majesty of showing how powerful they are compared to everyone else. And I just felt that just oozed its way through the entire movie.
Was watching.
Alrighty then. So
Still want to see chair dogs.
Yeah, still want to see. All right, so we're going to move on to our next thing, and we have a new category that we're going to be talking about. And I believe I'm going to put this ball in Mr. Kitchen's court, because he's the one that came up with this idea. Why don't you talk about what we're about to do here, Mike?
All right, so new segment, the top 10 movies of all time, according to Geeking Off the Page. Now, the reason I was thinking about this is because sometimes we tend to talk negative about certain things coming up in movies and all that. So I thought it would be fun to have a forum where we can talk about some real positive things. And what better than the absolute top 10 favorite movies that each one of us has. And because, we've been working in film and video games, we've all studied animation, we've all been involved with fandom. So all this stuff is in our blood. And because we've been watching this stuff and influenced by this stuff through our entire lives, I knew all of us have some sort of rank hierarchy on what is the most important films to us, the best films to us. And I'd just be really curious to see how this plays out between the four of us. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of films that are duplicates on the list. So one person will talk about it one week, someone else will talk about it the next week. But we can still find different things to pull from it, whether it's personal experiences or just the different things that make it part of the top 10 list. So we present to you the Geeking Off the Page top 10.
And the inaugural one, we're going to start off with the number 10 movie. So again, we're going to start with the gentleman who came up with this idea. So go ahead, Mike. What's your number 10?
So my number 10 movie on my top 10 of all time is True Romance. And this is a movie that I did not see coming. And I'm pretty sure we watched it during one of our Freak Pit movie sessions. I forget what it was. I didn't rent the movies, but I remember someone in the group had rented a stack of movies. It was going to be a movie night marathon. And I walked into this one and was like, what the hell is this? True Romance? What is this romance novel? Like, I did not know what to expect with it, but it ended up becoming one of my favorite films of all time. I mean, it's probably the only romance movie on my list, but it is definitely one of the greatest crime movies as far as I'm concerned. So this was released in 1998, September 10th. It was directed by Tony Scott, so the director that gave us movies like Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2. And the writer for this one was Quentin Tarantino, with assist by Roger Avery, who was uncredited. And all through this movie, there's so many things that make it stand out compared to other movies. First of all, like the all-star cast. So every single character in this movie, whether it's a secondary or tertiary character, there's a depth to it that is unlike most movies. So obviously we have Christian Slater as Clarence, and he's the ultimate freak pit action hero. He works in a comic book shop. He likes to go to late night kung fu movies. And, you know, it's someone that, coming from our lifestyle, our interests, it's a character that's immediately relatable. And he's got this imaginary friend, Elvis. And, you know, that's something that you don't see coming in a crime story. So obviously played by Val Kilmer. And it's interesting that you get an actor of that caliber who's kind of blurred out and in the background, kind of walks in an Elvis suit and just disappears. And then Gary Oldman as Drexel, Christopher Walken, you know, as one of the ultimate gangsters of all time. You know, Samuel L. Jackson. You have Nick Fury, who just gets blown away by a shotgun. You know, James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano is just beating the crap out of Alabama, right? So throughout this entire movie, the amount of characters and the amount of story, it's mind-boggling, especially when you're walking into this movie not knowing what it is and what you're going to get out of it. And speaking of Christopher Walken, here's a fun fact. So the first thing that I ever said to my wife was at a Halloween party, as part of the Christopher Walken speech, said, "Who am I? I'm the Antichrist. You've got me in a vendetta kind of mood. You tell the angels in heaven you've never seen evil so singularly personified as you did in the face of the man who killed you." At which point her twin sister said, "Oh my God, he said he's the Antichrist." And a year and a half later, we were married. How does that work? I have no idea. But then as the story goes on, you know, he has to go up against Drexel to free his wife from her pimp, end up with the drugs, end up going to California to sell it to the people in Hollywood, because of course he's got a friend who's trying to be an actor in California, in Hollywood. And this part is interesting because it mirrors part of my life, and the fact that, you know, you're in, well, in our case around Toronto, but it's like, you know, Northeast coast, and then your adventures take you elsewhere. So again, for myself, ended up in California and wasn't trying to sell drugs in Hollywood, but we were doing a lot of crime stories and crime things as far as entertainment goes. So, I draw a connection to that. And then as the story plays out with the Mexican standoff at the end, again, it's a classic Quentin Tarantino, but it's filmed in a way that only Tony Scott could do it. Like, whereas Quentin Tarantino's, it's a lot more grunge, it's a lot more B movie, but Tony Scott brings that polish to it. So it's the first fusion, of this type of film where I don't know, for me, I haven't seen one like it. Tarantino hasn't done quite like it. And I haven't seen another crime drama with the same intensity. And one interesting thing with the story is it's one where the changes made, I think, made the story better. So obviously, if you look at the Tarantino script, Clarence is supposed to die. And there's a DVD release that shows the outtake or alternate ending. But having him survive it, I think, in the spirit of a romance movie, makes it better to have him survive. Now, the Alabama was supposed to hook up with Mr. White in Reservoir Dogs. And he even mentions her in Reservoir Dogs. But, you can easily make up your own story about what happened with that. So, anyways, I consider this the most ultimate romantic crime movie of all time. And that's why it makes my number 10 spot on the top 10 of all time.
All right. I'll definitely admit I was not expecting that
Very
one
good.
to be on. Yeah. But again, yes, it was one of those nights that's how I think a lot of us discovered those types of movies. The group of us just sitting together. And again, you're right. There was a stack of movies that night and no idea who it was that had rented
Look
them.
at him, eh?
We had a video store downstairs from us and all that, did we not?
Yeah.
Video 99.
It was a Video 99. That's right. Yeah, it was a huge place. Yeah, that's right. But it was definitely, that was, I think, the first time that I'd seen it too. I did not see that movie in the theater at all. And yeah, it was pretty good. It's a pretty strong. When you mentioned the only romance on your list, I'm like, wait, what romances do I have on mine? And I think my number 10 is kind of a romance, but
Another thing, speaking of box office too, is this was an absolute box office bomb. Like, it barely made back. It had a budget of 12.5 million and it made 12.6 million in the box office. But because it had such a strong cult following, once people actually saw it, now it's considered one of the most classic crime movies of all time. And it has a killer soundtrack.
That it does. I guess I'm next.
yeah. So Trevor, what's your number 10?
So originally, I just started writing down all the movies that resonated with me personally, or I had great and the list at the first edit was 34 films, and then I got it down to like 18, and now I'm down to 10, and it was tough to get it to 10. So number 10 is a black crime comedy, 1996, Fargo. This was a film that I remember when we were in college almost having to beg people to go see. No one had any interest because, like, Fargo, what the hell's Fargo? And so I went by myself. I went over to the Cineplex Odeon over by Toys R Us in a matinee, watched it, came home, and was able then to convince some people to go see it. And so I was seeing it for a second time. A lot of people were seeing it for the first time. And a lot of people were like, man, why didn't you tell us to go see this film earlier? And I was ready to start throwing some haymakers.
I'm pretty sure I was one of those people.
Yes, you were, Michael. And Fargo for me is a film that every time it's on, I don't care what else is on, unless it's the other 9 on my list, I will stop and watch it. It is, to me, it is one of the best Coen films. It's smartly written. The acting is stellar. Frances McDormand, she even won an Academy Award for her portrayal. They nail the accents. I actually spent some time in Minnesota, and yes, they do sound like that. They really, really do. But the twists along the way, and like William H. Macy is oh god, what's his name? Jerry Lundergarden. He is just so inept. This is a man that you're like, how is he not struggling to breathe because he didn't remember to breathe in, breathe out? Like he just, but somehow manages to get his way through. And the whole time, just like, oh god, this guy's just a, he's an F up. But it's so entertaining. And then you have Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare, the two hitmen, and just beautifully done. And you've got the main plot that's going on of Lindergarten has his wife kidnapped because he's trying to extort money out of the rich father-in-law who owns the dealership and stuff like that, for $80,000. And eventually the money keeps getting bumped up. And so Frances McDermott's character, she is the police chief, but she's also pregnant. Her husband is a painter who is trying to get one of his paintings accepted as a stamp from the U.S. Postal. So that's a little like side thing that's going on. Plus, she's got an old high school flame that's trying to like hook up with her. It's just, it's all these little threads, just in typical Coen fashion, all these threads kind of twining together and splitting apart. And it's just, the movie's going along, and it moves at a very quick pace. The movie's like what? I had it written down, 98 minutes. So just over an hour and a half. And it feels like it's over like in a couple of blinks. But the whole time you've got this rich story that's just been thrown at you. And it has one of the most iconic scenes of, so you've shot somebody and you've killed them. How do you get rid of the body? And what do they use? A wood chipper. Now, in some films, they would have kept that kind of just as like a sound effect, maybe a shot of it and then a sound effect. No, they see you feeding, like some guy's getting fed into the wood chipper. And it's horrific. It really is. It was one of those moments. I remember sitting in the theater and I got the popcorn and I'm like, and you see the wood chipper and the spray of blood. And I'm just like, and the popcorn falls out of my hand and back into the bowl. I'm just like,
no, that's one where I don't like horror movies, but I love that scene.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why.
I put the popcorn down. I'm like, bravo. That was and by the time the movie ends, all the loose threads are all wound up. We found out what happened with the husband's painting. We found out what happened with, the capture of William H. Macy's character is hilarious because again, just so inept. And I just remember, as I said, like I finished the movie and I was like, I gotta get other people in this theater, because I remember sitting in the theater and there was like maybe 3 other people for the matinee showing. And I'm like, there's got to be more people seeing this movie, which is why I made it my mission after I hopped back on the bus and got back to the apartment. I'm like, all right, you guys are coming with me. We're going to go see Fargo. And it was a bit of a fight, but I finally got enough people to go and good reaction. And then, this movie got nominated for like a slew of Academy Awards, won a couple. In terms of box office, they spent $7 million to make this movie and turned it into a $60 million investment. That's a pretty good turnaround. And as I said, this movie has that a little special place in my heart of just, this is a small movie, doesn't have to be some big blockbuster, just done right, and done amazingly well. And the casting is spot on. I honestly could not think of any other actors in all those roles. Watching the film, I don't know, this person you could swap up for that. Everyone is so perfectly cast. It is the quintessential black comedy, a little crime film. And so that's my number 10.
Yeah, that one's definitely high on my list as well. Probably the top Coen Brothers movie as far as mine goes. Question for you. Yeah. What did you think about the TV series Fargo? Did you watch that?
I did not, just because I didn't want to dilute my feelings for this film. I didn't want to risk it. I really didn't. I look at it as watching a film and then, oh, well, here's a little companion film. I just didn't want to take the risk of it detracting from this film, because to me, this film it's a perfectly polished gem. It doesn't need any additions, any settings or anything like that. It's perfect as it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched the TV series, and I was afraid of the same thing. And I do think it detracts from the movie. And I agree with you, like the polished gem, you don't need to mess with that. But as a side thing, if you can detach yourself from the two, I thought this TV series was pretty good.
I'll agree with you, Trevor. It was something that took me by surprise when I saw it. I didn't actually see this movie till a little later on. I think I saw it around when the Oscar buzz really picked up for the movie. I saw it on TV, but it was a surprising thing. I mean, I'd known the Coen brothers and their work and whatnot up to that point, but yeah, this definitely took me by surprise and quite an enjoyable time. You know what? To tell you the truth, I would have said, if you hadn't said how long the movie was, my recollection of the movie is there's so much story in it. It's a 2-hour movie for sure. But you're right. No, the movie flew by really, really briskly, and it's an attest to the Coens' filming style and the writing style. And it's a good thing that they did both. They both wrote and directed this movie, and you can tell how smooth it actually came across. And yes,
I think this film is a prime example of excellent editing. You get into the scene, you tell what you need to do to advance the story, and then get out of the scene and get to the next one. And that's what kept moving it along. And that's why, I remember watching it recently and thinking, start of the movie and it's over. I'm like, that felt short. But and then look at the clock, an hour and a half. I thought it was a 2-hour and 15-minute movie. I thought for sure this was easily going to be well over 135 minutes. And it was like, that's only 90. Oh, how did they do that?
And again, like you said, it's packed with so much story, and it's, again, the cast is a phenomenal thing.
And then the accents.
Exactly. Yeah. Alrighty then. So I believe we're going to move on to Mr. Gavin. And Gavin, what's your number 10?
Well, there's definitely going to be some controversy around some of my picks over the next few weeks. I based my my top 10 list on the wow factor for me. The what hit me, what grabbed me. Is there masterful storytelling? Some of them, I guarantee you, absolutely not. Is there great casting choices? There's maybe some questionable ones. Is there?
I cannot wait for your list, Gavin. This is going to be amazing.
I gotta hear. I want to hear the whole list now.
Okay, so my number 10, and brace yourself, because this has never been on anyone's top 10 list before, I'm pretty sure. Transformers 2007. Yeah, see my cats look at me like that.
All right, so that concludes our actually run of Geeking Off the Page. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here. And but you know what? We're going to end this podcast now. Okay, I apologize, Gavin. We should not react this way, but
hey, he set this up. Okay.
No, exactly. No, you go.
He revealed the gun in the room. He told us he was going to use it. That's masterful storytelling.
It was definitely Chekhov's gun, that's for sure. So you go on with Chekhov's Transformer and tell us what comes next.
Chekhov's Transformer. Fuck you. Okay, yes. So my number 10 is Michael Bay's Transformers 2007. Would you guys stop looking at me like that, for fuck's sake? It's like a car crash. So Transformers 2007 stars Shia LaBeouf as Sam Witwicky, Megan Fox as Michaela Baines, Josh Duhamel as Captain Lennox. Again, this is something that I never thought I would put in a top 10 list. Anything Michael Bay should never be in a top 10 list. But for me, there was just something about this that grabbed me. When I first heard about it being produced, it was being produced by Steven Spielberg So there was this little part of me that was going like, maybe it won't be a train wreck. Maybe it'll do it justice. For me, it was the first time seeing Transformers done on the big screen, live action in a credible way, with shape, with weight, basically something that looked pretty much photorealistic, that worked within live action. Because we've all seen those commercials for the Transformers back in the day, where you see the kid standing there and just terrible CGI basically covers his face with Optimus Prime's head. It was terrible. It was awful. There was just no way that anything could do something like that on the big screen. But somehow the Michael Bay's Transformers managed to give that sort of impact for me. There's a few things that made it stand out. One is it introduced Transformers to a brand new audience. Most people were the old fans were basically all Beast Wars was the last good one. Maybe there were some holdouts for the Armada, Energon, and Cybertron trilogy that questionable. But I mean, there was it was all G1 people who were basically not. There was nothing out there for them. And so Transformers 2007 brought new, like there's nothing to draw new fans into Transformers without going back and watching like a lot of the older stuff. So with 2007, the Transformers being brought onto the big screen, a lot of people were starting to take notice of the Transformers brand again. So without the money that came in from the Bay Transformers movies, we wouldn't have a lot of the new stuff we have now. We wouldn't have had a lot of the masterpiece stuff, just because the market has started to really increase the demand for it, and a lot of the movie stuff funded a lot of this newer stuff. So there's a lot of things that kind of really sat with me in this movie. Watching Blackout, the helicopter transform for the first time, that trademark kind of sound, it just sort of hit me like right in the childhood. It's like, whoa. And then watching this turn into like a robot stomping around a military base, it was just like, this is may not have been exactly how I envisioned it, but this is what I wanted. Seeing Bumblebee transforming for the first time in front of Sam, that to me was just, my mouth was open through that entire sequence. The arrival scene when all of the Autobots arrived on Earth, watching them all crash land on Earth, and then scanning their new forms, then seeing Optimus Prime himself transform in front of you, like just all the bits and pieces moving as he's getting up onto his feet, and then leaning in close and hearing Peter Cullen himself voicing Optimus Prime. Bam! That was a two shot right in the gut of the childhood. I mean, absolutely not masterful storytelling. I mean, there are plot holes you could drive a fucking Peterbilt through, and they did. The quality of the acting, okay, yeah. There were some questionable performances, sure. I had a lot of fun though. This was basically all of the stuff that was in it, like the weird plot twists, plotting, the inconsistency in the story. Like there's a fight here during the day, suddenly that same fight is taking place at night. The fuck is going on here? Typical Michael Bay shaky cam. All of this should be a shitty movie, but somehow the 12-year-old in me was basically going, this is the greatest fucking thing I've ever seen. It was what I didn't know I needed. Now, the various sequels, okay, gong show, absolutely terrible.
I was sure they were going to make the top 9-1 spots.
Absolutely not. They are absolutely not taking up those spots. I have much better movies than that. I mean, yes, a lot of the designs looked like floating metal shards, like moving in place. But they got, to me at least, they got Optimus Prime bang on.
Okay, I have to ask you about this, Kevin. Wouldn't you rather have seen him as the toy, the red rig with the flat nose?
Absolutely, I would have loved to have seen that. I wasn't in charge of Transformers, so unfortunately, this is what we got. But what they did do is they managed to make him an iconic Optimus Prime character. Like,
I will say they got the voice right. I'll give them that.
So when they had the original voice doing it, yes. But the thing is that there's very few designs that they got spot on. But Optimus Prime for me felt right. It didn't feel like it was out of place. I mean, Jazz, Ratchet, Ironhide, it just didn't feel like they incorporated any of the G1 elements. Even Bumblebee, they only got Bumblebee right with the actual Bumblebee movie. But Optimus Prime, they managed to, they grabbed me and held me for the duration of the movie with their version of Optimus Prime. And that was what kind of carried me through the entire thing.
Here's a little fun fact is I considered working on this movie. So we had just moved back from California. So we are now in Toronto and we're working on some terrible Toronto animated films. And I heard they're finally making the Transformers movie. And I'm as big a Transformers fan as Gavin. And even when I was doing the comic book, people would ask questions during interviews like, oh, if you could work on a property that's not yours, what would it be? Often the answer was Transformers and Damage Control. Like those would be the two I would like to take a crack at and try and turn into something. But the problem with that is I had so much ideas stuck in my head of what the movie should be that when this one came out, I was kind of disappointed. But a buddy of mine that I was working with in Toronto, he did make the jump. So he left Toronto and went to California to work on this one. And I was so jealous for years until the trailer came out. It's like, oh, thank God I dodged a bullet on that one.
I will give you this, Gavin. Yes, for being a technically live action version of this, visually seeing the first transformations are definitely mind blowing. They definitely went whole hog on that whole entire thing. Hearing original Optimus Prime's voice come through is, yes, a spectacular thing on the big screen. It is, and again, I think you were talking about the target audience for this. This is definitely not our Transformers. This is a new generation of Transformers, and there are kids that grew up with these Transformers. These are the Transformers that they know. These are the overly detailed transforming things. So I'll give it to you that is definitely a thing. I mean, these are the Transformers. When you go to Universal Studios, these are the guys that are walking out front of the Transformers ride. And for that movie to give us those characters, like those walk around characters are phenomenal. You've seen videos on YouTube all the time of them interacting with it, and they are live actors interacting with the guests and all that. And it's fantastic to see Megatron yelling at people and Optimus asking if people are there to help them fight the Decepticons and all that sort of thing. It's really cool to see that sort of thing. So
my favorite part about your reasoning, though, is the nostalgia. Like, that's one thing. And I'm sure with our movies that we're going to be saying, that's a huge part, is when it punches you in your childhood nostalgia and you feel it, that's a powerful thing.
And yes, for you, if that's what it is, that's why I wholeheartedly support that as being your top in your top 10, and for those reasons. And yes, that's the reason why. I mean, I've got dumb movies on my top 10 list that are dumb because they meant something to me as a kid, or how I reflected upon them as an adult now. So again, and
that's why I think this is going to be a fun exercise, is because stuff will come up like this where it's something unexpected. Because again, I know there will be movies that will be the same, but
the thing is,
there will be surprises.
I fully recognize just how much of a letdown Transformers 2007 to the G1 fans. I get it. I understand it. I am that. But I was able to kind of, when the shit like Optimus Prime saying, I am Optimus Prime. It's like,
Oh yeah.
oh God, that's amazing. Or
Yeah.
like that scene where Prime is holding on to the Sector 7 like cars and going, this is Optimus Prime, my friend. As a kid, how many fucking times did you want to be able to say that to someone and say, that's Optimus Prime right there. He's my friend. And that just hit me so hard. And again, I fully acknowledge all of the faults that are in it. Shaky cam, fucking hold the camera still, dust everywhere, robot puke on everything. Okay, look, we had to wait until Bumblebee to finally see a good version of the cab over Optimus Prime. This is what it should have been right from the get-go. Okay, sure, maybe half the Autobot cast had thunder thighs. There's them some thick thighs. I'm okay with that. But still, this is what it should have been from day one. Am I disappointed that we didn't get that the first time around? Absolutely. But for what it was that we got, I think they managed to capture enough of the nostalgia for me that I actually enjoyed the movie.
Now,
despite every single flaw, and there's lots.
There's a little side note. Back in 2003, one of the guys I was working with, huge Transformers fan, we were working in Maya, and he had basically asked me to help with some rigging things, and he modeled and animated a G1 Prime fully transforming from truck up to full robot. And he pulled sound clips out of the Transformers animated movie, and had basically Prime say that. And he didn't have the lips. He had and it was just, you'd swear it was like a photoreal right from the cartoon, but a photoreal Prime. And he actually used that as part of his portfolio to go get hired by ILM. And I talked to him shortly after Transformers came out, and all he could do is just say, "You won't believe what they did to it." I was just like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're gonna have to wait and see." And that's all he would say. And I remember seeing like in the studio with him, and he brought in, he had burned it to DVD, his demo reel, and there was Prime transforming. And he had worked on a couple of different Autobots. He tried to do Starscream as well. He had studied all of the cartoons, try to figure out, and he even had the toy, and he step by step figured out how the toy transformed to make it all work. It was gorgeous. It looked beautiful. So when I saw Transformers, and the first time I was like, wow, they went with that design of truck instead of the flat note. Okay.
And supposedly with the design in question for the Peterbilt truck, supposedly they were trying to use real world physics and dimensions. And according to what I read, the cab over truck would only transform into a robot that was around 20 feet tall. But if they used the mass of the Peterbilt truck, they could get them to be around, I think they said it was like 32 feet tall or something like that. That's specifically the reason why.
All I know is when I saw what Pete had done, it worked. You didn't question, because we took still shots behind the studio. And so that when he did the transformation sequence, he then composited in and had it transform, and we had the shadows moving the whole bit. It looked gorgeous. I'd helped him with the tracking so we could try to figure out how to line up the camera. This is before some of the software that's available now that'll do the tracking for you and figure out the camera aperture and all that other fun stuff. But he proved it was, proof in concept. It worked. You believed it. So that's why when I saw Transformers 2007, I was like, that's kind of an odd design choice, but that's fine. And then turning, Bumblebee from a Volkswagen Beetle to a Camaro. Okay.
Boo. Sorry, that's all I have to say about that.
I know. So that's why this film is, to me, it struck me with the second you see photorealistic Transformers. I remember in the theater going, oh, this is, my brain had been safely turned off to disable the logic portion. The little kid in me is like, Transformers! So yeah, yeah, but there's stuff I couldn't get by.
I'll also admit the first time that was happening in the theater, I'm like, oh my God, I'm being surrounded by that sound. This is the first time I've heard that sound this way. And that was an exciting thing. Yes. And again, I had taken Adrian's kids when they were young, her boys when they were young, to see the movies, Transformers. And we saw the first 3 movies in the theaters because the kids wanted to see the movies. Thankfully, by the time we got around to the 4th, they lost interest. And we never actually went to go see the Turtles in the theater either. But again, I was there. It must have been opening weekend, and you could feel the thrill of the theater. There were people that were, yeah, there was.
Transformers movie was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. It was a good theatrical experience. It was.
Everybody was so excited.
And it was palpable. Everyone was excited to see this because that all we saw was the trailer up to this point, and it had to have been the opening weekend that we saw it because it was early on. And yes, I can understand why one would enjoy the movie that they did. And again, it was made for a new generation. It was definitely not for us G1 originals. But hey,
Well, some of us,
it's in your top 10. It's in your top 10, and that's fantastic. And I wholeheartedly support your reasons for it, Gavin. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you for standing out on a ledge like that.
I didn't say everything was like measured out with pure logic.
No. And again,
it doesn't need to be. That's the thing that's fun about these
I
kind
have
of
films
lists.
in my list that make you go, really?
And again, like Mike had said, these are not the best movies. These are our favorite movies. Yeah,
This is the Transformers 2007 DVD release.
Yeah,
that actually transforms.
of course it is.
Of course.
Oh, as he's transforming it in front of us right now. All right, we'll
This
zoom
will
in
be
on-
great for the video listeners, but for the
Yeah,
audio
exactly.
ones, we'll just.
There you go. That's about as quick as you can get a transformer to transform. That's very cute. That's very, very schlocky. As gimmicky. Gimmicky is more of a better word. So yeah. All right. So
Roy, you're up next.
I am going to say my number 10 movie. Now I'm pretty sure Trevor knows what this is. So this is a movie that came out, I believe this is the earliest movie on the list for everyone today. And this is was released on July 2nd, 1980. So I know that I saw this movie at the drive-in for the first time, and it was with, now I'm not 100% sure of what the double bill was, but I'm pretty sure it was either Superman 2 or it was Empire Strikes Back. So one of the two was this was the second feature of the two because the other one was the bigger movie. And of course, 1980, it was a big year for the big box office movies. This is a comedy that, again, like Trevor's Coen brothers, is written and directed by a collective group. And that is David Zucker, Jim Abrams, and Jerry Zucker. So Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker. And this is Airplane.
Yes.
Now, this is...
Number 11 on my list.
Okay. This is a movie from a troupe that has given us, I mean, this is still very, very early, and this is like their second, I believe, actual theatrical movie. Their first movie was actually Kentucky Fried Movie, which was released in 1977. They went on to do Top Secret in 1984, the Naked Gun series that started, the movie actually started in 1988. The TV series was before that they made. They also did the Hot Shots movies, which was 1991. But this is the movie that is the most highly quoted movie on my list.
Surely you must be joking.
Exactly. I am not
joking.
joking, and don't call me Shirley. Yes, exactly. So it's a fantastically ensemble cast. And again, this is 1980. I am 9 years old. I'm not getting nearly half of the jokes. but I know that stuff is funny because my parents are laughing at the jokes that I'm not getting. There's a lot of visual gags. There's a lot of like funny wordplay that I'm getting. I'm getting that sort of thing. But even the stuff that I don't get, I am laughing at because I'm in a collective and it's a comedy. In a group setting, comedies are funnier because everyone starts to laugh. Like, even if you don't get it, you're like, that does seem like, and again, I'm 9. So, and I've just seen either Superman for the first time or Empire Strikes Back for the 4th time or something like that at this point. But it was, and it basically, it's a simple movie. And if you just read the synopsis of the movie, which is this. So Ted Stryker, a former pilot who's a fear for flying, finds himself burdened with the responsibility of landing a plane safely after most of the crew and passengers fall sick due to food poisoning. Now that right out is a very straightforward, it is one of those, it's a disaster film. It's one of those sort of things. And it is actually, Zucker, Abrams and Zucker basically got the rights to a movie called 0 Hour, which is this story. And they basically saw it one day while they were writing scripts and sketches and whatnot, and saw it on a local TV show at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And they decided to they wanted to see if they could buy the rights to this movie to see how it was available. And it turns out it was available. They paid however much they did for it and they got the rights to it. So now this storyline is theirs to do with. And if you've seen any of the other movies that I have on the list, you know what you're in store for. And this is slapstick. This is this is depth humor. This is physical humor. This is prop humor. This is wordplay. This is everything that you can think of, any sort of style of getting a comedic point across is in this movie. And the way it's a silly story, it's a silly characters, but it's also a nice thing where they get a good portion of the cast. I would say of like 90% of the cast are actual serious actors. You have like Lloyd Bridges, you have Peter Graves, Robert Hayes at the time really didn't do much in the way of comedy at that point. He later on goes to be that because he can do it, because he can play a straight man sort of thing. You have you have Leslie Nielsen doing his first comedic role. And again, he plays a straight man. He just delivers line, and he is the surely you must be joking guy. He is everything, and it's so beautifully put together that it is a very dated movie. It is very late 70s movie. But it has the feel of that type of movie, of the disaster films, of the like plane crash movies, the Towering Inferno, the whole entire like feel of that, but in a comic sense. And it is so beautifully presented that it is like it was said, if this movie is on TV, I am stopping everything I'm doing. I'm just sitting down and watching this movie. I mean, I have a copy of it digitally on my phone available to me for whenever I want to watch it, sort of thing. I mean, it's one of the few ones I have. And again, every single, like, the best thing about this is every character is given a memorable line to quote, and it can come up anywhere, and you know that you know a fan when you say a line. And again, the surely you must be joking is a perfect example for that. And Ted Stryker, and then some woman gets punched, and it's like it looked like I picked a bad day to give up smoking. It looked like I picked up a bad week to give up sniffing glue. It's that sort of thing. And again, the fact that they take these former serious actors, which are still serious actors afterwards and all that, and give them these comedic roles, and they deliver it with such deadpan delivery that it makes the jokes hit even harder when they do. And there's only one character, and that's Ted Stryker, who is the only one that seems to realize that there's something amiss. but it's just, and it's beautifully done. And Zucker, Abrams and Zucker just do, again, they continue on to do this sort of thing, but this is their like first huge hit. I'm going to say that I had a budget, but anyways, it was a very small budget movie to begin with, and they ended up making like $75 million on this movie. And in 1980 movies, for a movie that cost, I think it was maybe $15 million to make 75 off a comedy is
3.5.
3.5. Whoa, look at that. Even better. Look, I mean, yeah, look at that. Thank you, Trevor. I know I had it written down in my notes, but I turned the page to get the rest of my notes, and it's over here somewhere. But anyways, and again, it's stuck with me. It's what shaped a lot of my enjoyment in humor. And of course, later on in life, I start cluing in on those jokes that I didn't understand before, just because I've seen the movie so many times. And it's basically one of the first movies that I enjoyed, that I pretty much, again, it was something my parents showed to me, but it's only because we all discovered at the same time. A lot of my earlier comedy stuff was all stuff that my parents are like, hey, Abbott and Costello, Three Stooges, like Laurel and Hardy sort of thing. Like that was the comedy that I knew before that. This is the type of comedy that led me to like Mel Brooks movies and all that, which again, another one that has a history of, I'm loving all of his movies. I've got from like 11 on, there's a couple of Mel Brooks movies on here. There's, I mean, in my top 20, there's again a couple of these, like for sure that Top Secret is in my top 20. Blazing Saddles is in my top 20 and all that sort of thing.
I gotta jump in here too, because The Naked Gun is the first David Zucker film that I saw. And I will say that was a massive influence for Spy Guy. The comedy cop, the hard-boiled detective type thing, huge influence. And then the first one I saw in video was Top Secret. I was way too young to be watching that movie, but that one stuck with me to the point where I had to show my kids. Where Eric is saying, "Is like, are you sure this is appropriate?" Probably not. However, it's like,
speaking of inappropriate, I finally found
Fried Movie. Yeah, Kentucky Fried Movie.
I found this on Blu-ray finally.
Nice.
I was so disappointed because my DVD copy, which I found somewhere, the layers started separating, so it was unplayable.
Oh, you're kidding! Oh, ouch! Oh, yeah. But
so then when I just randomly walked into a used video store in Oakville of all places, I walked in. It was just sitting there. I'm like, sold.
Nice.
And again, if you remember, this is the movie that I watched shortly after my lung operation. So
not a good choice with the laughing.
Of laughter, and what amounts to be broken ribs, trying not to laugh too hard, which is proving very, very difficult.
Yeah. And again, this is a movie that can be constantly quoted. And again, I just love the hell out of this movie. It's just a fantastic way. And again, it's something that me and my parents, like, especially my father was a huge fan of this movie, and we would watch it almost every single time when it was on TV. And it was also an edited for television version, because of course there is some offensive language and some offensive situations. Really? So there's a lot of the movie that when I finally got a DVD of my own of it, I'm like, I don't remember this scene. I don't remember seeing this sort of thing. So it's just, yeah. And so it's something that stuck with me, and that's how it makes it into my top 10 as one of my favorite comedies.
Fun fact, my mother's.
What was that?
My mother's name is Shirley, so you can imagine how often I quoted that.
I said, Jim never vomits at home.
Exactly. He never asks for a second cup of coffee. Yeah.
My favorite, one of my favorite sight gags in that entire movie. Well, there's two. One is the drinking problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Basically throws the water behind him, and then the other one is when the entire all of the passengers lining up to take a whack at the girl who's going
hysterical,
and they're all lining up, slap, and then as it goes back, there's the nun with the baseball bat,
the gun.
Yeah, exactly. It covers pretty much every single type of comedy you can have in this, and it's beautifully executed. it's stupid as all get out, but it is so entertaining from the get-go to the, I mean, just hearing the voiceovers of the white zone is for the loading and the unloading conversation between the man and the woman's voice that comes,
and they get the argument about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, and this is again where Trevor brought up a couple of weeks ago with the, I'm going to give him 10 more minutes. The gentleman in the taxi from the beginning of the movie, at the end of the movie, still waiting for his.
Now, I saw this movie on Laserdisc. That tells you how long ago.
Okay.
My brother borrowed the Laserdisc from the Calgary Public Library, brought it home, shoved it in. And I remember my sister and I and my brother were all sitting on the couch just howling at all the jokes. And my parents come home and they're like, "What's so funny?" And we're like, "Airplane." And my dad's like, "I don't know." Watching that. I'm like, "We're on our third viewing." And he's like, "Well, cat's out of the bag now." I mean, can't believe not to watch it now. I think we probably watched that movie like twice a day for 2 weeks. I got to the point where, I could recite all of Johnny's lines perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, the movie starts off with like a parody of Jaws. And this is like the year after Jaws was released. And so it's just like not even a year after Jaws was released, because it was like, oh, I guess it might have been with July.
Jaws
yeah. So it might have been
75. So.
Oh, wait, what was I thinking then?
Yeah, this came out in 80.
Right. I was thinking Jaws was a little later on. But anyways, you still start off with a parody. And again, another great form of comedy and all that. So that's our top 10s. Well, our 10 position of our top 10. Our number 10 of our top 10. So tune in next week when we do our number 9s. All right. So we're going to move on to our next segment. And that is going to be our weekly Adam Asks. And this particular week, we have the question posed from Mr. Adam as saying, talks abound with rumors of a third Battlestar Galactica reboot and a second Babylon 5. Wouldn't that be Babylon 10? Cinematic universes and reboots of once successful shows dot the media landscape. But compelling originals that are cut short, stay with us. What properties would you like to see retooled for modern audiences? What is successful? What is cut short? What's your Blake 7? If you know Adam, that's the reason why he used Blake 7. Your Blake 7. Yeah, your Space Above and Beyond, or your Firefly. What deserves finishing, and what needs to be retooled? So, what do you guys got in the six? I believe Mr. Gavin's got his hand up. This is a not really a visual podcast, but go right ahead.
I don't want to be rude and interrupt.
No, of course on this podcast you wouldn't.
This is why you never talk, Gavin.
This is exactly why you.
Pretty much exactly Gav, hit us.
Okay, so
go on, Gavin. Come on, tell us what you have to say.
I've got.
Wait a second. I have another one that I'd like to put. No, dude, kidding. Go.
Fuck you all. Hey. So I've got two. I got a two for here. I've got a what should be finished and what should be rebooted. So what should be finished? I would love to see a proper ending for Angel. They leave it on that cliffhanger with basically Angel and Spike and all of his friends all basically charging against the army from hell, and that's it.
And a dragon. Don't forget the dragon. Yeah, I'm taking on the dragon. I'm going to take on the dragon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I could even accept that, like Angel being rebooted as well. I mean, the rumors of the Buffy reboot happening is still kind of swirl around, but I would love to just see an ending to that. Now, as for reboots, it's a bit of a cheat because it actually already has been rebooted once. I'm talking about V. I would like to see this series rebooted by one of the streaming services. Let's get a proper story arc. If they want to plan it for like three seasons, 2 seasons, let's get a proper story arc that allows it to wrap up with a fully well thought out, well rounded ending. The reboot that happened, I did enjoy it, but honestly, there wasn't a lot that I really remember from it. It doesn't stick out the same way that the original, like the '80s series did. Like watching them eat the mouse for the first time, it's like, oh shit, they're not human. What's going on here? Like seeing the skin getting like peeled away and seeing the reptilian scales underneath. You know, that those sort of things for like the 1980s audience was just like shocking. It's like, what the hell? Seeing Freddy Krueger himself basically as Willie, you know, playing one of the fifth column, just basically wanting to rebel against the visitors. You know, their plan to basically enslave and, well, process humanity as, you know, as Big Macs or whatever.
I felt the same for that, like what you're saying with the new series. I really enjoyed it, but it felt kind of empty. But the original series, watching it as a kid and being terrified.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The actress who played Anna, like, what was her name? The leader of the visitors. Just the way she played the lizard queen essentially was, it was so like alien. Like there was her human face, and then there was her visitor face. And when she switched gears, like you were looking around for like a stick to basically like defend yourself against her. Like she was just cold and just terrifying.
That's what the new series lacked. It lacked that sense of hidden menace. You didn't. I mean, they kind of like threw it right at you in the first episode. Hey, they're out together. It just, they didn't let it build. I remember, as a kid watching it was a family event, and they didn't reveal the whole, humanity may not be the best step for humanity well into the first season.
Yeah, well, the actual, like, the original miniseries was like 3 nights in a row. And then the Final Battle a year later was a 2-night episode. And then they went into a single 13-episode series that continued on the story. And yeah, it was built up from that. And that is, again, the soul of the original wasn't really felt in the remake. There was a lot that they did in the remake, the reboot, or whatever you want to call it, the reimagining and all that, which was kind of nice. And unfortunately, it also ended on a cliffhanger that didn't get a closing because they brought in actors from the original series to play new characters in the new series. And it's like, oh, you can't leave us with like Donovan, Mark Singer gets brought in the final episode. Gets brought into the final episode of the second season of V. Yeah, we're talking about V.
I love that reboot.
Yeah, I know, but we're just talking about how because we didn't get a final, like a finale to it, is what we're talking about. Yes, because they were assholes, exactly. But yeah,
there was never a satisfying end to it. So like if they reboot it, like put it like on Amazon, Netflix, probably not Disney, but whatever. Like whoever is willing to pony up the bucks, there is something here that could be retold, and with a much better pacing to the story.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And some sort of streaming service would be able to do a fantastic job to it. I believe the original was NBC, if I remember the advertisement properly, and I think it was ABC that did the remake, because I don't think it was
ABC.
NBC.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Something else. I when I was kind of like doing my research on this, apparently they were supposed to be doing. They were saying that there was going to be a movie based off of V back in 2018. Nothing's been heard of since. So it's this carrot kind of dangling a bit over everyone's heads, but there's nothing concrete. So I feel like Amazon, Netflix, whatever, they drive a dump truck full of money onto whoever owns the copyrights law, like the name, back it up, dump it out there, and say, yeah, we'd like to make this.
All right.
Anyone else got something right off the top of their head, sort of thing, or
For myself, I'll go next if
yeah, go right ahead.
someone else is. Okay, and this is specifically for Gavin. The retooled series I would pick is Transformers. And like I was saying before, this is something that I'd been thinking about since 1984, how I would do a live action for this, how the characters would be. And because I put so much brain energy into it, I still would like to see that rendition of Transformers as a live action series. You know, like when I think of Bumblebee, I think of a little yellow Volkswagen who's, got the cartoon style head, but transforms into a proper car. You know, when I think of Optimus Prime, I'm thinking about the red cab truck. Like, I want to see that. And with Transformers, I'd seen a bunch of people, sort of like what Trevor was saying, where they're making their own Transformers CG. And I remember seeing an Ultra Magnus where it's just the white and blue cab transforming in an alleyway. It was like, this is exactly what Transformers could look like. I remember somebody did a 3D Devastator and it was cartoon accurate, except with all the details. And then for story wise, I would want it to be in 1984. And you can see how that works with Stranger Things, right? That nostalgia value. Don't make it modern day. Don't do the modern cars. Bring it back to 1984 when the story should have happened. And I'd like to see some sort of Star Trek element to the story where it's these robots landing on Earth where they don't quite know what's what. Like they think the vehicles are the life forms, but no, it's these organic fleshy things. It's like, oh, that's strange. And so it's that Star Trek element of this is what humanity is. So the humans are trying to explain to the Autobots what it means to be human, right? There's so many classic moments in the original cartoon series. Of course, it was done kind of clunky because it was a toy commercial, but that could have brought in what we see from Star Trek, where Captain Picard is talking to the aliens what it means to be human, what Captain Kirk is expressing humanity. So where the Autobots embrace humanity, the Decepticons don't care. They'll just destroy it. And there's a scene in one of the Marvel comics, the first time the Decepticons attack, where it's in a drive-in, and that's where Bumblebee gets wounded. So just imagine sitting in a drive-in. There's a bunch of cars that seem to be kind of moving on their own. Then it's attacked by fighter planes. Then these cars transform. Bumblebee gets wounded and limps his way back and meets the Whittakys. Like, those kind of story points, if you saw it in a movie, would be phenomenal. So anyways, that's my retool. As far as cut short, Firefly. Adam gave it away. But this is the one TV series that I was late to. People at work kept talking about it. It's like, oh, it's the space show, but there were so many space shows at the time that were just kind of crap. I didn't really pay attention. It's like there's fight scenes, but there's no sound because it's space. It's like, oh, that seems kind of boring. But then when I finally bought into it and watched it, I got so hooked. I was not as excited for sci-fi property as I had been since Firefly. And the fact that they stopped it when they did, like the story had just started rolling, they just went a little bit beyond the space western and started building the world and started getting to these really interesting elements, and it was just done. So I would like to see how that ended, and I was hoping we would get that from Serenity, but we didn't really get that from Serenity. And now that it's been so long, I don't think we can ever recapture it. So if we could have extended that back when it was at its first season and see where it goes, that's the one I'd like to see.
Definitely a victim of the standard Fox protocol.
Yeah.
Either air the episodes out of order or wait until something preempts it or something like that. You're right. It 100% got shafted terribly.
I remember hearing about that. There's some water world where they were talking about filming that one where the back of the Firefly opens up and it's ocean and they're standing there. It's like, how could we not have seen that? Like, come on, at least give us a couple more episodes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that one hurt.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that there's something on the line that once I heard about them, I thought, oh yeah, that's a great thing. And there are basically two of a little more on the darker side and that is well, they're retoolings of TV shows from back in the black and white days, and we have both Tim Burton, who is doing a continuation of the Wednesday Addams story, which is currently going to be coming out on Netflix soon, and we got Rob Zombie doing the Munsters. And from everything that I've seen, it's all preliminary and all that sort of thing right now, but everything looks so far from these two. I mean, these two guys are perfectly suited to do these particular stories. Like Tim Burton doing a basically a grown-up Wednesday Addams, and again, Rob Zombie doing a reboot of the Munsters, and just looks fantastic right now. And again, we have sets, we have some costumes, we have some looks and all that sort of thing, but nothing else and all that. But this looks to be something fantastic. But when we say something that like what Mike said, Firefly, but is a perfect example of that. And then yes, Gavin, what you said, how Fox was just like, they didn't believe in the series enough. They didn't figure it really mattered what, like, their first episode they aired is the 4th episode, and then they go back to the first episode where they introduce the characters and whatnot, and it's like, what is this? This is destined to fail.
They really foxed it up.
They really foxed it up. But the one that I want to see a conclusion on, which is a series that ended on a cliffhanger, and that's Stargate Universe.
Ooh.
And this is one that that again, it's I've saw the original movie, enjoyed that. I followed the 10 seasons of Stargate SG-1. I followed the 5-6 seasons of Stargate Atlantis. And when they came out with this Battlestar Galactica-esque looking version of Stargate, where they're traveling on a ship through the galaxies, it's just like a fantastic thing. A great cast, fantastic cast. I mean, you got Robert Kyla, you got Mulan's voice,
Ming Na?
Ming Na Wing. You got oh no, I'm blanking on names right now because it's way too late. Anyways, just a fantastic cast. And we're introduced to a bunch of fantastic actors and all that too. But the series ends on a cliffhanger. Everyone is put into stasis, and one character has to stay. Eli, the main character that we're introduced, that brings us into the series, and he's the only one that is able to. It has to stay awake to get the ship through this. I can't even remember what they're trying to get past.
They're
and all
jumping
that.
from one galaxy to another.
Right, they're crossing galaxies. Yes, yes. Without,
and he's got to try to get a cryopod working, because they're not. There's none left except for the one that's broken. So he's got to try to figure it out, get it to work. Otherwise, by the time they get to the next galaxy and everyone wakes up, he'll have died.
Yeah, exactly. And we end on that cliffhanger. Like, it was a canceled in hiatus series, which really sucks, because they went into this figuring they were going to get a 3rd season, and then it was just dropped. Like, as soon as they finished everything and like, hey, congratulations, yay, end of season 2. And they're all like, yeah, well, you're not coming back for 3. So unfortunately and again, it was something that was building up. It had lore to live off of, and it was creating its own as well. It was expanding on the Stargate universe, and it was very beautifully done. It was fantastic to watch. It was a beautiful look to it and all that. And again, it was unfortunately shut off in the middle of its downtime, and unfortunately no one ever got back to it, which kind of sucks, because I know that a couple of like the actors showing up at conventions and all that are always talking about it, and everyone's those that are vocal about it are very disappointed that they didn't get their, at least a conclusion. If they had known that it was going to be the final episode, they would have done something about it. But the fact that everyone is expecting to come back, and then, oh, we're not? Oh, that sucks. So, okay, sure. Lou Diamond Phillips moves on to do stuff, and Ming Na moves on to do stuff, and Robert Kylo moves on to do stuff. But a
Yeah,
lot
they're
of
not
the
coming back.
rest of the Canadian cast just moves on to bit parts in other Canadian series and all that. But unfortunately, that's one that I felt deserves a ending, because it's, first of all, coming off of, like I said, 16 years of lore prior to it in these other two series, which again, the other two series also spawned fantastic actors and all that. We got Jason Momoa from Stargate Atlantis. I mean, that's, you can't like, and we had MacGyver in the first series. I mean,
Mhm.
Richard Dean Anderson headed that series for
Amanda
like
Tapping.
8 years. Yeah, even the other characters that came out of, and Michael Shanks and all that, they all went on to do fantastic things afterwards and all that. But unfortunately,
Christopher
like I said,
Judge is the voice of God of War. He's the voice of Kratos.
exactly. Christopher Judge is the
Read it.
Boy.
yeah.
I love Christian.
But yeah, so that's unfortunately one. I can't really think of anything that I'd like to see retooled right now, because a lot of the stuff that I'm like we talked about the other week, the Lost in Space, like this Netflix version of Lost in Space is an amazing retooling of the series. So, Mr. Brown, what do you have to retool or reboot or felt was robbed?
So
or...
in terms of finishing off, you grabbed.
Trevor has a list.
I did.
Trevor has a list. Yes.
I had Stargate Universe on shows I wanted to see finish off. The other one that's on the top of the list, now I know there's been rumors, Quantum Leap. I don't want just a little blurb of like, ooh, he never returned. I want to see how it ends.
Yes. So want to see that.
I don't want to reboot because I don't
Nope.
think they could do it justice. Without
Mm-mm.
Scott Bakula, I don't
No.
think it would.
You could get away with not having Dean Stockwell,
But not Scott.
but
Bakula.
not Scott Bakula. Yeah.
So I want to see, I want to see him, arrive back home. Even if he makes the conscious decision, is like, I'm going back in. But I don't want just a little write-up blurb. That just felt so cheap. Now, in terms of a reboot, this is going in the way back machine, Voyagers, with Phineas Fogg, who jumps throughout history,
Yes.
repairing,
Yeah.
and he loses his
Yeah.
book, and he grabs the kid who's a son of a historian. This kid knows a lot. I'd love to see that done today.
I can see Mike looking it up right now. Yes, that was a fantastic. It was a very
It was a fun show. He had this little watch, and they'd turn the dials to the time and place, and bam, and they jump.
Yeah, I can't even remember that one.
The biggest thing is the lead actor, John Eric Hexum, was goofing around with a prop pistol, put it to his head, pulled the trigger, and the dummy round pushed plastic fragments in through his skull. And
very, very, very sad. Very sad. Yes. But yes, that itself. Yeah.
I think that show would do great as a complete reboot. Also, it'd be a great way of introducing kids to history that isn't tied to their iPads. The other show I would like to see redone, just because A, the technology now is better to make it possible, and B, when the Canadian production of it took over, it went into the toilet, would be Airwolf. I want to see a full reboot of Airwolf.
Complete with jets?
Of Airwolf. Not the crappy Canadian production version. Get some actors who are reliable. Yeah, Michael Vincent. And we've got the technology now where they could, because they were limited to the handful of shots they could do with the actual helicopter. They couldn't push it to the limits of Airwolf could, so they had to fake a lot of it. And they had to reuse so many shots over and over and over again. Every episode felt like 10 minutes of reuse shots of helicopter shots, because that's all they had. Nowadays they can very easily do it, and honestly, it was you show anyone from the 80s, any kid from the 80s, a picture of Airwolf, and in their head they can hear the sound of that helicopter, the screaming pig sound when it taking
the game. This game has the soundtrack.
Yeah, so it's and thing is like the initial flight when it's hidden in the Valley of the Gods, and they fire it up, and it and it rises up out of the Valley of Gods, and it takes off, and then they hit the turbos and it goes into Mach. almost any kid from the 80s who watched that show has those sounds in their head. They got to bring it back. You know, nowadays with technology nowadays, it wouldn't be that expensive to do it CG and make it believable.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, I mean, I don't need to see a new Knight Rider. They've tried that 4 times.
No,
4 times. I
no,
was
we
just
do
about to-
need to.
I was just about to
gonna
say,
if Trevor gives 2, I'm giving Knight Rider.
God,
You're
no
a Knight
Knight Rider,
Rider,
no
really?
Street Hawk,
Hell
no
yeah.
Blue Thunder.
Knight Rider was my absolute favorite.
What made Knight Rider was David
The
Hasselhoff.
reboot of Knight Rider was great.
No, in fact, okay, here's another fun fact. I was in the United States visiting family, and I had a choice to get one of 2 toys, but I didn't see it in person. The first one I picked was Kit. I got it. It was more like a Barbie doll car. I was like, oh, damn it. I thought it was going to be a cool die cast action figure G.I. Joe thing. I was really ticked off as a kid. So we returned that and got Optimus Prime instead.
Now, one of the last times I was in Myrtle Beach, not this past time, but I think 2 times before, someone had the tricked out DeLorean Back to the Future style, and parked right beside it was Kit. Had the light going back and forth, the entire interior cockpit. He had the door open so you could see it. It had the voice synthesizer, so it would say things like, please don't sit down, you're not Michael Knight, stuff like that. And the guy had like the leather jacket, and he had the watch and the whole bit. Is beautiful. But again, that's a series that is dependent on the actor, because they've tried to reboot it 3 times.
Oh, they failed.
Failed.
It's true. You could get
because they tried the last one. They used was a Ford Mustang. No, it has to be the Trans Am.
I know, and this is why it would be a great one to retool and do correct. Even if you had to make it retro, even if you had to go back in time and
without
make it
David Hasselhoff, it's not going to work.
You can find someone. You just have to find the right casting agent.
Yeah.
You could
That's
have
what
David
recruits them.
Hasselhoff as the what's the guy in charge.
Oh, Devin.
There we go, Gavin.
But the thing is,
You're hired.
you know, so with like back in the 80s when they had all those car or vehicle shows where you had like, you know, Street Hawk was the motorcycle, and you had Blue Thunder, and you had Automan and
Automan for the win.
Teen Turbo.
Of all of them, if I had to choose between all of them, I would pick Airwolf first to be retooled and, you know, put back on the air.
Airwolf was my second favorite vehicle show, but yeah, Knight Rider #1.
Did you
Especially when
see
Tesla
that?
made the self-driving cars and the Apple Watches. I want to get a
Exactly.
black Tesla and an Apple Watch to say, Kit, pick me up in front. Yes, Michael. It'd be so awesome.
And doing the moving the red light, it would be child's play with LEDs now.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, I even asked the guy who had it. He's like, honestly, though, you can buy those parts now. There's enough aftermarket guys who make the strobe that goes back and forth. You just, you know, there's a simple modification. You bolt it in, you plug it into the electrical system, and you're done. And that's
Apparently it's
everything. Turn on
illegal
the
to
car.
drive around with that, though.
No, it's not.
I heard it was because it's like a siren, essentially. Siren lights. You're not
Well,
allowed to do
he
that.
said, I mean,
I
he
looked
he-
into it.
it-
He's probably
it was his
illegal.
daily
Sorry,
driver.
we should probably cut this part out.
Yeah, but it was his daily driver was Kit, and he didn't drive the Back to the Future car because it had so much extra weight from all the other stuff on it, because it still had the original engine. He's like, it drives like a pig. He's like, the old, like the Renault engine that's in it. He's like, it's just not powerful enough to even. It would never hit 88 even without all that stuff on it. So.
That's funny. Our neighbor across the street's into all this kind of stuff too. You know, builds props and that. And his buddy had a DeLorean decked out with all the Back to the Future gear. So we'd often see it in the driveway across the street. Like,
Nice. That's cool. Miss Adrian here came up with one called Coveting Cross, which was a basically a sword and stones, basically medieval.
It was
set.
you
a
should get her
family
online.
drama.
Get her on camera.
Set in
Let
a
her
castle.
describe it.
Okay, come on, Adrian. You're coming over here and you're gonna talk about why you want either a conclusion to it or a retooling of Coveting Cross.
And then the people
So
know
come
who's
in.
talking in the background all
It
the
was
time.
like an
Yeah.
Aaron
Folks,
Spelling
here's
type
Adrian.
show, but in a castle. Like,
Yeah.
what's not to love? There was, swords and like and angsty teenagers and cool clothes and everything. I quite liked it. It was a fun show.
So
And-
apparently there was 13 episodes made, but only 6 had aired
yeah,
in the
they
US.
didn't even let me see all the episodes.
Yeah.
Like 666 Brook Avenue. screw
There's
them.
another one. There's another one that didn't have a good
That
ending to
show
it.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get to finish watching that either. And like apparently like the last episode is out there somewhere, but I keep forgetting to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the other one we talked about?
Well, okay. Have you guys watched The Glades? It's like a cop show in Florida, right? So like spoilers for people who are actually gonna watch it. So they never made any more, right? So the last episode, he's supposed to get married. Like there's like a, they like each other, but whatever, for 3 seasons, right? And they finally get together, whatever, and they're finally gonna get married. It's like, and like, so it's gonna be the wedding, and he's bought her dream house for her as a wedding present, right? So she has no idea. So he goes to the house to go and set it up for the honeymoon, right? And he goes and he's got the champagne and the flowers and everything. He stops there on his way to the wedding. Some fucker comes in and shoots him. And he can't make it to the phone. And like, shut up, Mike. Anyway, but it ends with him bleeding out on the floor and she thinks he's not coming to the wedding. And that's how this show ends. You don't even know if it was like the ex-husband who shot him or who. You don't even know.
Yeah, you're giving no conclusion
Nothing.
of who it was that.
Like, who does that?
Yeah.
Who does
Did anyone
that?
hear audio? Just tell her that was amazing. I'm
Mike
convinced.
says that was amazing. He's convinced. Yeah, he's convinced.
No, it's a good show. It's really funny, right? It's in Florida. It's a murder show. There's gators and shit. I mean, what's not to love?
Everything's always improved with gators.
Anyway, so yeah, but dude, like, how can you not? That's a mean thing to do to the viewers. I'm just saying. And sorry for screaming.
No problem.
It's been a long day.
Remember 2 other
I
shows.
mean, usually it's Trevor that starts
I forgot I was watching.
foaming at the mouth like that, but
Hold
that
on,
was pretty
I
awesome.
just remembered
we
2
still have
shows
time for him to start drooling and foaming. Here we go.
that can either do with a good finish or a reboot.
What?
Forever Night.
Forever Night. Yes,
Yes!
Forever Night.
Classic.
There you go. Adrian's Forever Night as well.
Except I want them to redo it without freaking Baby Cow. Leave Baby Cow out of the equation altogether. We don't need him.
Vachon,
Right.
the other
Which is
vampire
Baby Cow
Vachon.
in
Yeah, I
French.
know.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. And the other show that they could reboot and do it well, Due South.
I don't know Due
would
South.
work.
What's Due
Wait. You want to reboot it?
Reboot it.
Reboot. Okay, so you don't want to. Okay, gotcha. I got you.
No,
Because
because
Due South is a great series.
it is. It kind of ended on a slightly ambiguous.
It did. Yeah.
But I think, rather than doing a finish off,
Except
they
for
could
So
that.
just
do a
reboot.
reboot of it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are 2 shows that I think could easily be rebooted and done well.
Good
never
old
watched
Canadian
Due South.
programming.
Yeah.
You never watched Due South? It's actually
Not Due
quite.
South. Forever Night though is huge.
Yeah, Forever Night. Yeah, 3 seasons. That's all we got, and it's sort of that last season sort of wrapped
And the
up.
thing is, if they really wanted to, ramp it up, throw it on HBO where they can do the sex, they can do the blood, they can do the violence, they can do it as a miniseries, kind of like Game of Thrones style, and just give us 12 episodes a season.
Yeah.
It's late, folks.
All right. So on that note, we're going to call it a close to this particular episode. We've gone for a little bit and all that. I'm glad everyone was sticking around with us. Be sure to stick around for the little outro and all that. It gives us all the ways to contact us and whatnot. Plus, we also have another week on our previous contest that we're doing, the Defending Our Roles, where we're having the actual listening audience vote on the 4 selected Universal monsters that
The Mummy.
is the best of them. So
The Mummy.
we've got the Mummy, we've got the Invisible Man, we've got Frankenstein's
The Mummy.
monster, and we've
The
got
Mummy.
the creature from the Black Lagoon.
And the Mummy.
So
Don't
we'll
be a mummy's boy. Vote for the Frankenstein's
There's a hole
monster.
in the back.
All right, so you can go to our different social medias and look up the conversation we have about that. We'll probably put another link up sometime this week to direct you to those two.
And vote the
Again,
Mummy.
the audience is the one who's voting on the
They'll be voting for
conversation
the
that we
Mummy.
had about the Universal monsters. So
If they're drunk,
The Mummy.
and
Imhotep.
on
remember only
that
crack babies
note,
vote for the mummy.
and on that note, we're gonna say be sure to come back next week when we're going to do a little more of this sort of thing and continue on with our top 10 with everyone's number 9 pick. And we're going to get the conclusion to the, like I said, the defending your role, again, voted by the audience. So go to our different social medias and check out the end of our podcast for that information coming at you right there. So until be sure to tune in next bat time, same Spider channel. And on that, we're going to do a collective goodbye. Everyone ready for it? And in a 3, 2, 1, collective goodbye. All righty then. Good night, folks.
Only took us 26 episodes to get that good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It was still pretty bad.
You have just been listening to Geeking Off the Page with your hosts, Mike Kitchen, Gavin Burbage, Trevor Brown, and Troy Bowman. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you could leave us a rating and comment, that would assist in allowing others to find this podcast more easily. You can follow the podcast on the following social platforms: Instagram and Twitter, search for @PlanetGeekPod, all one word. On Facebook, search for Planet Geek Productions. Or you can send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Buy the guys a coffee by going to Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/planetgeekpod. And know that any and all donations will go towards improving all current and future Planet Geek Productions programs. Thank you for listening.